Dawn, sharp as a golden sword, sliced through the Stuart Eagle Castle. Light bled through the stained glass, turning the fledgling Knight Order's training ground into a mess of mottled shadows. I leaned on my training sword, gasping as my strength finally hit a wall. Being the Count's third son didn't make the air any easier to breathe. 17 years ago, I was just a college student. Then came the accident, and suddenly I was a permanent resident of the Eurathia continent. Now, I just train until the sweat from my face turns the dust into mud. My arms feel like lead, and my internal chi is a hollow, silent void. It's a heavy weight to carry. Still impossible, I muttered, my voice raspy with despair. When I first arrived, I had foolishly hoped for a life of aristocratic luxury, even as the third son. I forgot the Stuart family law is absolute. Every direct descendant must condense battle aura and become an official knight before reaching adulthood. Failure results in being ignored and uncultivated, eventually fading into commoner status. A fate even the Count's son cannot escape. With my 18th birthday only a week away, I remained the only son who had not yet achieved this. Knight ranks progress from squire and apprentice to official, elite, grand, hero, earth, sky, and paladin. Only by mastering a knight breathing technique can one condense battle aura and become an official knight, a path strictly controlled by noble families. Most commoners remain stuck below the apprentice level, often forced to pledge absolute loyalty to noble houses to gain access to such training. Becoming a guardian knight means becoming the noble's private property. Betrayal is punishable by death by the entire aristocratic class. Middle-tier ranks are the peak for most nobles, as higher levels require both advanced techniques and exceptional talent, usually reserved for the highest nobility. Despite my father being a peak hero knight, I showed no signs of condensing battle aura as my adulthood approached, which was a spectacular way to ensure I remained the family disappointment. Raphael, the fledgling Knight Order's instructor and a Grand Knight, sighed. That's enough for today, Master Cyril. Overexertion will only damage your foundation. I can keep going, Uncle Raphael, I insisted, struggling to stand. My brother, Calvin, was already an elite knight and the family heir. I longed to earn respect through my own strength, refusing to be a stain on the family name. I tried the eagle breathing technique again, but my internal chi remained locked in darkness. Just as I prepared to strike again, a cold, clear voice echoed in my mind. Ding! Daily intelligence system activated. The voice hit me like a shockwave. I froze, my heart racing. A system? After 18 years. The system provides 10 random pieces of intelligence daily, covering the past, present, and future. At least one will directly aid your development. Today's intelligence updated. 1. The kitchen maid baked 30 extra apple pies this morning. The 3 on the far left of the third rack have double the honey. 2. Count Stewart is stuck in a bottleneck preventing his breakthrough to Earth Knight. 3. The pony in the stable is in a good mood. 4. A Northern Rare Plant Guide is hidden on the third shelf of the library. Page 77 contains a leaf imbued with natural energy. 9. The kingdom plans to reclaim the Baetica province from the barbarians. 10. At midnight, when the silver moon reaches its zenith, the life spring beneath the ancient oak behind the castle will briefly revive due to an astral tide. The servant Emil will be bathed in its waters and awaken his battle aura. I was stunned. The life spring could wash the body and trigger potential, which was a convenient bit of cosmic timing for someone like me who had been stuck in neutral for years. Hope was finally within reach. I spent the rest of the day acting like my usual self, even if my father kept watching me with a look of hidden concern. My mother, Lady Elena, offered me gentle encouragement, and my brother Calvin tried to ply me with wine. Their warmth fueled my resolve to succeed and avoid becoming a disappointment. That afternoon, I slipped into the library and found the dusty Northern Rare Plant Guide, exactly where the system said it would be. Tucked between pages 77 and 78, I found a silver leaf that radiated a strange, cooling energy. This leaf is truly useful, I whispered, tucking it away before preparing for my midnight trip to the ancient oak. Night fell, and the silver and red moons hung in the sky like twin warnings. Dressed in dark clothes, I slipped out of the castle and navigated the shadows toward the mountain behind the estate. The ancient watcher, oak, stood like a giant, its leaves rustling in the wind. I hid in the bushes, heart pounding, clutching the silver leaf to steady my nerves. As the silver moon reached its zenith, the phenomenon began. Pure starlight, invisible to the naked eye, was drawn toward the roots of the ancient oak. A patch of earth began to glow with a faint, vibrant green light, filling the air with a refreshing, earthy fragrance. The dried spring began to breathe, and a pool of starlit water shimmered into existence. It was time. I lunged from my hiding spot to the oak tree, immersing myself in the spring of life. A scorching, vital torrent surged into me, scouring my body. The agony was intense. Even after 17 years of training, I struggled to endure the overwhelming power of the spring. My muscles tore and bones groaned as the spring purged my impurities, forcing dark sweat from my pores. Gritting my teeth, I channeled the eagle breathing technique, driving the chaotic energy toward my long-sealed dantian. Every strike brought a fresh wave of agony, but my mind stayed razor-sharp, shielded by my iron feather badge and silver leaf bookmark. I funneled every scrap of my energy into one final, desperate assault against the barrier. Boom! A thunderous crack echoed in my skull. A warm, potent force erupted from my dantian, flooding my meridians. Battle aura. It felt warm, agile, and powerful, a stark contrast to my previous failures. Under my command, it flowed like a docile stream. Success. Before my coming-of-age ceremony, I had condensed battle aura and become an official knight. Exhausted but exhilarated, I collapsed under the oak, smiling as I felt the genuine power coursing through me. As the starlight faded and the spring vanished, I knew my life had changed forever. 7 days later, the family hall was solemn. Count Stuart sat on his throne, wearing his hero knight medal, flanked by Lady Elena, who looked on with pride and worry. Family members and leaders of the 3 knight orders gathered, their eyes fixed on the youth in the center. I stood tall in my new knight's uniform, sword at my hip. I took a breath and raised my right hand. A pale golden aura, shaped like an eagle's wing, shimmered above my palm, weak, yet pure and steady. Battle aura. Young Master Cyril succeeded. Heaven blessed the Stuarts. Whispers erupted into applause. Even the skeptical elders nodded in approval. The Count stood, his voice booming. By the name of the eagle and our ancestors, Cyril Stuart has condensed battle aura and become an official knight. His perseverance honors our name. I, the Count, officially grant him the right to bear the eagle crest. The afternoon banquet was a blur of celebration. I, the guest of honor, graciously accepted congratulations, savoring the long-awaited recognition. After the festivities, a servant approached. Young master, the Count requests your presence in the study. I stepped into a study, so quiet the fireplace crackled like a warning. The Count and his advisor, Huda, were waiting for me. Cyril, the Count said, you have made me proud. But now, as an adult, you face a choice. First, you may stay, join the family knight order, and rise through the ranks to defend our glory. Second, the Count's gaze sharpened, become a pioneering knight. The family will provide resources for you to settle Tania Island. It is a dangerous, untamed land of monsters and savages where many lords have perished. The implication was clear. Failure meant death or ruin. Few who ventured to the island survived. Silence filled the room, and I let it hang. I recalled my sheltered life, my grueling training, and the system that had saved me. I didn't want to live in my father's shadow. I craved my own sky. That morning, my system had updated. 1. A servant is planning to propose to a maid. 2. Eastern Tania Island has a permanent freshwater spring, an ideal location for a territory. 3. The kingdom plans to retake the Bedica province from the barbarians. 9. A defiant, talented boy, destined to be a top-tier powerhouse, will arrive at the Rio town slave market today. 10. A seed emitting life energy has appeared at the dried-up spring. These secrets were my leverage. Only by becoming a lord could I exploit these opportunities. I looked my father in the eye. Father, I am grateful for your guidance. I choose to be a pioneering knight and spread the Stuart glory on Tania Island. The Count leaned forward, scanning my face. He finally sat back, wearing a look that blended surprise, worry, and a hint of pride I hadn't expected to see. "Give me your reasons," the Count said steadily. "Family resources are limited and best used to support my brother in the Northern Territory," I replied calmly. "Tania Island is dangerous, but it offers infinite possibilities. It is a blank slate, far from the kingdom's politics. With the Stuart courage, I will carve out a new territory in glory. This is the ambition befitting an eagle's son." I kept the system a secret, though my resolve was genuine. Silence filled the study, broken only by the crackling fireplace. Count Stuart sighed and approached me. The formidable hero knight looked less like a lord and more like a father sending his child away, patting my shoulder firmly. "Good. This is the son of Stuart Lant. Eagles belong in the sky, not the nest," the Count said, his voice trembling slightly. "Since your mind is made up, the family will prepare everything. Remember, no matter where you go, Eagle City is your backing. The Stuart Eagles, I will always watch over you." The Count added, "The family will provide a grand gift to help you build your territory on Tania Island. I will hold a farewell ceremony for you in 3 days." "Yes, father. I will uphold the honor of the Stuart family," I replied respectfully. The Count nodded in acknowledgement. Back in my room of 18 years, I felt a pang of nostalgia. My personal maid, Avril, greeted me happily, offering a hangover soup. "Thank you, Avril. I'll drink it shortly." My tone softened. I felt genuine gratitude for the comfort she had provided during my recent hardships. "Avril, I am leaving the family soon for a long time. Would you like to come with me?" I asked, treating her with unusual patience and favor. "Wherever you go, I go, young master. I only serve you," Avril replied nervously, fearing abandonment. "Good," I said gently. "Pack our things. We leave in 3 days." "Yes, young master," Avril replied with a determined look. I gazed at the fog-covered northern sea, envisioning my own powerful future. The starlight died out. The spring of life beneath the ancient oak dimmed, its green glow sinking into the soil until only a patch of damp, fragrant earth remained. I felt the true chi surging inside me, a thrilling rush. Based on the system's intel, I knew the spring hadn't given up everything just yet. I knelt in the mud and dug, eventually unearthing a teardrop-shaped seed, emerald bright and no bigger than a fingernail. It pulsed with a liquid green light, radiating a vast, gentle life force that I could feel against my skin. The seed of the tree of life? My heart raced. This was a legendary treasure, enough to provide infinite water and anchor the foundation of an entire faction. I tucked the seed away carefully. It was going to be my greatest trump card on Tania Island. The next day, once my true chi was officially recognized by the family, I set out for Rio town before my long departure. I told everyone I was going for supplies, but my real goal was a rumor from the slave market. A black-haired youth named Orlando, a future powerhouse currently locked away for his rebellious streak. A future powerhouse, I mused, excited by the prospect of gaining such a loyal subordinate. In the market, I found the youth in a corner cage, a 15-year-old, thin and scarred. Unlike the other listless slaves, the boy's eyes burned with defiance and hidden confusion. The slave trader, recognizing the Stuart heir, approached with a sycophantic grin. "Young Master Cyril, looking for a worker?" I pointed at the boy. "What about him?" "That's Orlando, a stubborn brat from the mountains. He's caused too much trouble. 2 gold coins, and he's yours." I tossed him 2 coins. "His contract." With the signed parchment, I approached the cage. The boy glared at me with hostility. "Come out," I said calmly. The boy remained still, staring. I released a sliver of my official night pressure. The boy trembled, eyes widening in surprise, yet he remained stubborn. "2 choices," I stated. "Stay here and be executed for your failed escape, or follow me, swear loyalty, and gain the power to be free." The boy froze, stunned by the sincerity in my eyes and the strength of my presence. A rare moment where my reputation actually did the heavy lifting for me. His resolve cracked. After a long silence, I watched him crawl out of the cage, his hostility finally waning. I ordered my guards to clean and feed the boy. Later, a refreshed Orlando stood before me, revealing sharp, wild features. "Your name is Orlando?" I asked. The boy nodded. "You are no longer a slave. You are my follower." Swear to be my guardian knight, and I will grant you cultivation methods to become a noble who will never be bullied again." Orlando looked up, shocked. "Why would you choose a lowly slave like me? I admire your refusal to yield in that cage. I will cultivate you, and in return, you give me your absolute loyalty. Are you willing to abandon your past, dedicate your life and sword to me, and follow me through prosperity or disaster until your last breath?" I asked, my gaze piercing. Orlando took a deep breath, feeling a newfound clarity. He knelt, his movements stiff but firm. He looked up at me, his black eyes shining with brilliance. "Orlando, swear it," he declared, his voice ringing out like a young eagle's cry. "By the sun and the earth." He struck his chest over his heart with a heavy thud. "My life was pulled from the darkness by you. It no longer belongs to me. It belongs to you, Master Cyril Stewart." His words were filled with absolute, burning resolve. "I will be your shield against all threats and your sword to break through any fog. I will follow you to the ends of the continent. My loyalty is etched into my soul. You are my only lord. If I break this oath, may my soul fall into the abyss forever." I was moved by the young man kneeling before me, whose straight spine and trembling body betrayed his intense, sincere devotion. Drawing my sword, I let the morning sun glint off the cold steel before resting the blade gently on Orlando's left shoulder. "In the name of the Stewart family's eagle, I, Cyril Stewart, accept your allegiance." I then moved the blade to touch Orlando's right shoulder. "From this moment, Orlando, you are my first guardian knight. Your loyalty and honor are bound to mine. Your deeds shall be recorded by my own hand." I handed the Stewart family's eagle-breathing technique to Orlando, sealing an oath that, in this world of high-born egos, was as absolute as a death warrant. Betrayal would mean total ostracization by the nobility and a relentless hunt until death, as such oaths were the bedrock of aristocratic status. I left Orlando to Raphael's tender mercies and headed for my father's study. The 3-day deadline had finally arrived. My decision to become a pioneer knight had shocked the family, but my sheer audacity earned their respect. My formal plan had triggered a level of support I hadn't dared to expect. The study had been transformed into a war room, and Count Stewart was already waiting to hand me a list of resources. "Since you chose the hardest path, the family will provide the strongest support," the Count said firmly. "Beyond the Sea Eagle and basic supplies, this is our additional aid to help you take root on Tania Island." I scanned the parchment, and despite my best efforts to stay cool, I felt my breath hitch. "The family is sending 50 elite knights, 200 official knights, 600 apprentice knights, and your mentor, the Grand Knight Raphael, to assist you," the Count declared. "You will also receive a platinum-grade sword, 50,000 gold coins, 2,000 farmers, 3,000 slaves, and various skilled craftsmen." Overwhelmed, I felt a surge of warmth. This was more than resources. It was the family's profound love and expectation. The supplies alone would last a year, and the private knight order was powerful enough to rival many baronies or viscounties. The labor force and gold coins provided a solid foundation for my territory's long-term development. "Father," I struggled to find words. The Count waved me off, his eyes filled with hope. "Remember, Cyril, an eagle's wings only grow strong through the storm. These are gifts, but your wisdom and courage must build your legacy. Go, my son, and let the Stewart Eagle flag fly high over Tania Island." I nodded firmly. I turned my focus to final preparations, consolidating my forces and reviewing intelligence on Tania Island. After thanking my father, I went to the training grounds to inspect my new force, which I had named the Radiant Eagle Knights. The Radiant Eagle Knights stood in perfect formation. At the front, 50 elite knights in eagle-crested armor stood with sharp, battle-hardened gazes. They were the unit's blade, their silent, lethal presence enough to intimidate any foe. Behind them stood 200 official knights in practical, high-quality armor. They stood like pines, embodying the trust and discipline of the unit's core. The rear was composed of 600 apprentice knights, younger and less armored, yet standing with determined, eager postures. They were the future, the fledgling eagles of my order. 900 men stood in absolute silence, leaving only the sea breeze to snap their banners. Raphael, a mountain of a man in heavy steel armor, stood stoically at the podium. Looking at this forest of steel and loyalty, I felt a surge of pride. This was my foundation for conquest. I stepped forward, my voice carrying clear, undeniable authority. Knights, we leave the protection of Eagle City to cross the sea to Tania Island. Many call it a savage, forgotten wasteland where we will find only failure or death. My voice sharpened. They are wrong. It is not an end, but the beginning of our legend. The soil where we shall forge a new home and order. Though far from home, the Stuart's spirit travels with us. With iron will and unity, no obstacle can stop us. I, Cyril Stuart, promise that every drop of sweat and blood will be rewarded with honor, land, and wealth for you and your descendants. I drew my sword, pointing it toward the sky. Tell me, are you willing to join me in making the Radiant Eagle Knights and the Stuart flag known to the world? We are. The roar of 900 voices shook the clouds, igniting the spirits of every knight present. Even Orlando, standing behind me, felt his blood boil with aspiration and resolve. Raphael watched the scene, a faint, satisfied smile touching his lips at my burgeoning leadership. I sheathed my sword, my voice deep. Good. Remember this oath. I want our strength to echo throughout the kingdom. For Cyril, for the eagle, Raphael shouted, followed by a thunderous, unified response from the ranks. I remained on the podium, filled with anticipation and the absolute belief in our coming victory. My eagle had spread its wings, ready to soar in a new sky. Morning light fought the harbor mist, and the weight of departure hung heavy over the docks. The fleet was ready. My flagship, the Sea Eagle, sat alongside 5 transports and 2 escorts while sailors hauled in the final lines. The Radiant Eagle Knights boarded in grim silence, their armor clanking. Behind them, craftsmen and farmers followed with faces caught between fear and hope. I stood at the pier in travel gear and a deep blue cloak bearing the eagle crest. My family ring and emblem made my status clear enough. My family bid me farewell. Count Stuart looked on with stern concern, Lady Elena wept softly, and Carl gave me a scroll of military tactics. Count Stuart gripped my shoulder. His gaze was heavy with trust and a silent dread regarding the notorious Tania Island. Amidst the parting, a clear voice echoed in my mind. Information updated. 1. Your bosun, Shiloah, is the legendary Captain Grey Falcon, an expert on Tania Island's currents, reefs, and secret smuggling routes. 2. Among the ornamental seeds your mother packed, one is a true silver leaf fern spore, a vital ingredient for high-grade mana potion. 3. The castle valet is depressed after a failed confession. 9. East of Tania Island lies a perennial freshwater spring surrounded by mountains, an ideal spot for a territory. 10. 130 kilometers toward Wanya Cape. Then 80 kilometers northwest, you will find silver moon fish, but beware of a deep-sea monster. I processed the intel, took one last look at my home, and stepped onto the Sea Eagle with resolve. Set sail. My voice rang out across the fleet. The sails caught the wind, and the fleet departed for the treacherous waters that had claimed countless pioneers. In my cabin, I studied the charts, realizing the immense value of the intel regarding Shiloah and the silver moon fish. I mused on my luck. Shiloah's expertise in navigating the dangerous, uncharted waters would be invaluable. A legendary captain working as a common sailor? I smelled a mystery, and I intended to get to the bottom of it. With the silver leaf fern and the silver moon fish's crystals in my possession, I could brew high-grade mana potions. It was the perfect recipe for my own growth and a gold mine for my territory. I summoned the bosun to my cabin. Shiloah arrived and knelt. Lord Cyril, your servant Shiloah is here. I studied him. He looked weathered and humble, but those were the eyes of a veteran. Should I call you Shiloah, the legendary captain? Shiloah trembled. I found myself wondering how a legend like him had fallen so far. Shiloah looked up, feigning ignorance. My lord, I do not understand. I scoffed. Drop the act. Why is a man like you hiding as a common sailor on my ship? Shiloah stood straight, his tone respectful but firm. You are right. I am Shiloah, but the title of legend is one I cannot bear. He explained that Baron Shiro of Bor Province had murdered his fiancée. In his rage, Shilua had wounded the Baron and fled. He had been hiding ever since, eventually finding work on my fleet. I am at your mercy, my lord, Shilua concluded. I, though a noble myself, admired Shilua's loyalty and defiance against injustice. I won't hand you over, I declared. Swear your loyalty to me, and I promise to help you avenge your wife. Shilua, trembling with shock, knelt and crossed his arms over his chest. I offer you my life and my absolute obedience. Shilua pledged his service with fervent devotion. I nodded. I keep my promises. Use your knowledge of Tania Island to ensure our success. Shilua rose, his eyes alight. I will navigate us through every current and reef and utilize the old smuggling routes to our advantage. I looked toward the horizon. Then let us forge our glory together. With my new, loyal navigator by my side, I turned my focus toward the silver moonfish. These fish were a massive fortune, though the deep-sea monster guarding them was a lethal threat I had to navigate. Risk and reward, I muttered, ordering Shilua to change course toward the coordinates of the fish. Shilua obeyed without a single question. I then summoned my uncle, Raphael. Orlando fetched Raphael, and they both entered the cabin. Raphael, my former instructor and current knight commander, greeted me with respect. He recognized my iron will and served me with unwavering dedication. I explained the situation, a massive school of silver moon fish guarded by a deep-sea monster. I ordered Raphael to select 30 elite archers and instructed Orlando to prepare for action. I tasked Shilua with planning the approach and preparing sound-making devices like gongs to distract the beast. Shilua, eager to prove his worth, set to work immediately. I ordered the blacksmith to ready the heavy ballistae with armor-piercing bolts. The fleet moved like a well-oiled machine, with the Sea Eagle leading the way under Shilua's expert guidance. By afternoon, the lookout signaled, "Silver light ahead." It's the school. A shimmering mass of fish moved beneath the surface, turning the sea into a dreamlike expanse of silver. Maintain distance and slow down, I ordered, my focus sharpening. I knew the hunter lurked below. Within 15 minutes, the school of fish began to scatter in chaotic panic. There, a massive shadow in the deep water to port, the lookout shouted. Suddenly, tentacles thicker than the mast, lined with suckers, erupted from the sea like demonic whips, lashing at the Sea Eagle. A monstrous creature, resembling a giant octopus with terrifying mandibles and glowing organs, emerged from the depths. Hard to port. Dodge the strike, Shilua roared, grabbing the helm. I felt the warship lurch as we narrowly missed a crushing tentacle, the spray drenching the deck. Ballistae, aim for the head, fire at will, Raphael commanded. 3 heavy ballistae fired simultaneously, their black ironwood bolts piercing the monster's thick hide and drawing dark green blood. The creature shrieked, its tentacles thrashing wildly in an attempt to entangle the ship. Night order, volley fire. Target the eyes and the base of the suckers, I ordered. 30 knights steadied themselves, unleashing arrows infused with true chi. While not fatal, the barrage successfully disrupted the beast's movements. Now, light and sound, I bellowed. Sailors ignited signal flares near the monster's head, while others struck massive bronze gongs, creating a deafening, piercing cacophony. The intense flashes and sonic waves stunned the creature, causing its glowing organs to flicker erratically in distress. Startled by the commotion, the silver moon fish leaped from the water en masse, their scales refracting the light into a blinding, sun-like brilliance. The monster shrieked in agony, blinded and disoriented, its tentacles slowed and lost coordination. Now's our chance, I shouted to the ballista crew. Target the glowing organs. Fire. The knights fired again. 2 bolts struck the glowing organs, while the third pierced the creature's mandibles. Scree. The monster let out a final, earth-shaking wail, its body convulsing as its tentacles went limp, bleeding dark green fluid into the sea. The massive carcass slowly sank into the depths, leaving behind a blood-stained, debris-filled surface. After a moment of silence, the deck erupted in cheers. I smiled, relieved, and ordered the crew to deploy small boats to harvest the silver moonfish. The hunt was a success, yielding both safety and the valuable silver moonfish. After securing the haul, my fleet resumed its course toward Iron Bay Port on Tania Island. After a day at sea, my fleet dropped anchor at Iron Bay Port. It's the administrative heart of Tania Island, 300,000 square kilometers of territory managed by the governor's office for the Tania Kingdom. As a subject of the kingdom, I had a date with bureaucracy. I needed to present my noble colonization decree to the governor's office before I could legally start developing my land. Sunset painted the stone buildings of Iron Bay in gold, while the salty breeze carried the relentless noise of a busy port. I ignored the bustle. With Raphael and Orlando in tow, I marched across the guarded streets toward the governor's mansion, perched at the port's highest point. The governor's mansion was a weathered stone fortress, a monument to the long history of the kingdom's grip on this place. After we stated our business, I and my companions were ushered into a solemn, simple office. A sharp-eyed man in an official uniform rose from behind the desk. Herbert Green, the governor of Tania Island. Cyril Stewart? Herbert said, his tone scrutinizing. I received the dispatches from Naples. You arrived quickly. Please sit. I know of the Stewart Eagle family, Herbert began. It takes immense courage for a noble to trade the comfort of a count's territory for this monster-ridden frontier. Tania Island needs doers, not dreamers. Your choice represents the pioneering spirit the kingdom values. I bowed slightly. The kingdom grows at the frontier, and I seek the challenge of the unknown. Herbert nodded, clearly impressed by my resolve. Let us proceed. I have verified your decree. I will now register you and explain the requirements for advancement. He spread a scroll bearing the royal seal across the desk. Every 5 years, your territory will be assessed. Pass the first, and you will be promoted from a colonization lord to a baron. Herbert listed the criteria. First, a permanent population of at least 5,000. Second, you must govern at least 500 square kilometers with basic defensive infrastructure. Third, an annual tax revenue equivalent to 5,000 kingdom gold coins. Fourth, you must establish a town with the necessary urban infrastructure. I memorized these figures, visualizing my future blueprint. Becoming a baron grants your territory official recognition, Herbert continued. But to reach viscount, count, or marquis, you need more than just growth. You need kingdom merit. Merit? I asked. Yes. Merit represents contributions to the kingdom beyond your own borders, usually earned through war or exceptional service. The military and the governor's office track this. You need 20,000 merit for viscount, 200,000 for count, and for marquis. Herbert leaned in, his voice dropping to a warning tone. As for a duke, that is a pillar of the kingdom, requiring monumental achievement. A dukedom is decided by the king and the royal council, based on irreplaceable contributions. There are 2 types, a real power duke with an independent fief, or an honorary duke with title and salary, but no independent state. To date, Tania Kingdom has no duke who rose from a colonization lord, and honorary dukes are rare. It is a path of glory, but one paved with thorns. I memorized the steps from baron to duke, acknowledging the difficulty. Thank you, Governor. I will keep your advice in mind. Governor Herbert signed and stamped the documents, handing me my official colonization permit. You are authorized to claim up to 100 square kilometers of unclaimed land on Tania Island. Good luck, Lord Cyril. During dinner, Herbert shared vital intelligence on Tania Island's climate, resources, monsters, and indigenous tribes. I and my men rested at the governor's mansion for the night. I learned that most surviving lords occupied the relatively safe, flat Manhwa Cape. Though Herbert suggested Manhwa Cape, I had my sights set on a resource-rich bay in the northeast, assuming I didn't accidentally lead us into a swamp first. With only 60,000 to 70,000 square kilometers developed across the island and Iron Bay Port, vast potential remained. Daily intelligence updated. 1. A puppy was purchased at the harbor yesterday. The east side of Tania Island has a freshwater spring tucked between mountains. It is the perfect spot for me to stake a claim. 3. The governor's maid has developed a crush on the handsome Cyril. 20 kilometers north of the bay, there are rich iron and gold deposits. Unfortunately, they are guarded by 5,000 goblins who aren't interested in sharing. A herd of unicorn horses is resting by the Yarv River, northwest of Manhwa Cape. I am keeping that location in mind for later. After reviewing the intelligence, I met Raphael, Shiloah, and the fleet at Iron Bay port. I was ready to depart. Shalua approached, asking, "Lord Cyril, the fleet is ready." "Where to?" Trusting the intelligence, I ordered, "Sail north along the east coast to the bay. That will be our new territory." Shalua obeyed, and the fleet set sail. "We have arrived, my lord," Shalua said, pointing to the bay cradled by steep cliffs. The cliffs were covered in dense forest, with a flat slope stretching toward the sea, a perfect natural fortress. I confirmed the location via my intelligence screen, calling it our future home. I named the site Orloff Bay. Stepping onto the beach, I felt the raw, untamed potential of the land. I immediately ordered Orlando to scout and Raphael to organize the camp and security. Following the intelligence, I trekked inland for half a day until I found the spring gushing from a mossy rock face. The water was clear, sweet, and far superior to the brackish water at Iron Bay. I was pleased. The site was perfect for a castle located 10 kilometers from the bay. However, I remained wary of the 5,000 goblins near the northern mines. First, I must establish basic infrastructure in a residence, I decided. I summoned Eldon. A clerk Count Stewart had gifted me to handle the administrative headache of my territory. Eldon showed up on the dot, standing there like he was waiting for a lightning strike. "Eldon, you are here to manage my territory," I stated. Eldon bowed. "I am at your service, young Master Cyril." I told him to map out a castle and city layout, keeping the spring as the centerpiece of my grand design. Eldon accepted the task without a word. I knew the efficiency of knights, even apprentices, so I decided to put them to work on the construction. I summoned Raphael to hammer out the labor plan with me. I proposed, "Raphael, I want the knight order to assist in building the territory." Raphael hesitated. "Some knights may find manual labor beneath them. That is why I am establishing a merit system," I explained. Contributions will earn rewards like mana potions, gold, or advanced breathing techniques. Breathing techniques and equipment were ranked: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, earth, sky, and saint. Raphael was stunned. Knights usually only receive the silver-grade wind eagle breathing technique after great service. He realized this incentive would drive the knights to unprecedented levels of fervor. Raphael wondered if I had enough techniques to sustain such a system. As the Count's son, I held access to all family techniques except the core platinum-grade eagle breathing technique. It seems my father considers my lungs unworthy of the family heirloom. I then turned to Eldon. "We will also implement a merit system for slaves and freemen. Slaves can earn freedom, and freemen can earn land, or even send their children to train as knights." Eldon was shocked, realizing this policy would ensure absolute loyalty and dedication from every inhabitant. Few lords would ever be generous enough to grant slaves freedom, elevate commoners to knights, or share advanced breathing techniques based solely on merit. I watched their reactions and said, "It's decided." Discuss the details, refine my plan, and announce it. Raphael and Eldon left with eyes burning from shock and excitement, and I knew my merit policy would ripple through the territory. I needed this unconventional growth to survive the threats closing in on me. The news spread through the temporary camp like wildfire. Initially, when Raphael announced the merit system, some minor nobles and arrogant official knights grumbled, feeling it insulted their status. However, when Raphael revealed that the top performer would receive the complete silver rank wind eagle breathing technique, the complaints vanished, replaced by heavy breathing and hungry gazes. Even elite knights were tempted. The chance to earn the gold rank fierce eagle breathing technique or rare mana potions was enough to drive them mad. Meanwhile, Eldon announced that 1,000 merit points would buy a slave's freedom. The slave's dull eyes ignited with hope, while freemen hungered for the rewards of land, housing, and knightly education for their children. Amidst this fervor, construction began at a breakneck pace. Eldon, an experienced administrator, mapped out the territory: the high ground near the spring and cliffs for the castle, the mid-level for administration and barracks, and the coastal area for commerce and ports, with farmland on the fertile plains. With the plan set, Raphael organized the knights into 3 shifts: 1 for security, 2 for construction. The battle-oar-wielding knights became human cranes and excavators. They cleared trees with giant axes and shattered rock with ore-infused picks. A single knight could carry logs or stones that previously required a dozen slaves. Apprentice knights and laborers, driven by the promise of merit, worked with astonishing efficiency. The construction site buzzed with relentless energy. Within a month, the territory was transformed. A sturdy 4 to 5 meter stone wall was erected around the inner city, providing essential security. The castle foundation was dug deep and reinforced with solid bluestone, meticulously laid by the knights using their battle aura. My main tower is a square block, ugly as sin, but it functions as my home, my command center, and my last stand. I spent my days overseeing construction and my nights using the system to analyze goblin intelligence and local resources, racing against time. Eldon implemented a transparent merit tracking system, with assistants recording daily work quotas and posting them publicly to maintain morale. I watched as he organized a scout team of freeman hunters to monitor goblins and hunt for food, reducing our reliance on dwindling supplies. After 3 months, the tents were replaced by sturdy wooden houses, giving the people a sense of belonging. The 30-meter main tower was completed, looming over the bay. With thick walls and narrow windows, the castle was now fully functional for defense and habitation. Fertile fields were cleared along the river, and slaves planted the first crops using durable ironwood tools forged by the knights. Irrigation ditches brought fresh water to the fields, where green shoots signaled the birth of a new future. The peace was broken when scouts reported a 50-strong goblin hunting party approaching from the northern mountains. I approved Raphael's request to engage, adding combat to the merit system. The next day, 30 knights annihilated the goblins with 0 casualties, boosting morale and earning their first combat merit. I held the first merit ceremony, where 3 slaves tearfully received their freedom tokens. Several freemen were granted land deeds, kneeling in gratitude. The top-ranked elite knight solemnly accepted the fierce eagle-breathing technique scroll from me. This spectacle ignited everyone's passion, turning the population into a tireless, well-oiled machine. 6 months later, the bay breeze turned warm and my territory became unrecognizable. I spent those months leaning on my daily intelligence to hunt down and secure every mineral deposit in sight. A gray stone castle now stood by the spring, topped with arrow towers, battlements, and iron-reinforced gates. My core team and I finally moved into our new, fortified home. The inner city was no longer a mess, boasting stonewood houses, orderly streets, and workshops churning out tools. I marked the perimeter of the outer city, and the freemen started staking their own claims with shops and homes. The first harvest finally hit, providing enough food to stop my total reliance on dwindling supplies. Standing on the castle terrace, I watched the town bustle, the fields turn gold, and the trading ships drift into the harbor. A vibrant town had taken root in the once desolate bay. I had built a solid stronghold, but the northern shadow remained. The goblins might be distracted for now, but the territory's growth and its need for minerals would eventually force a confrontation. As the sun rose over my town, I looked toward the dark green northern mountains with a grave expression. Daily intelligence updated. 1. A farmer found a gold coin while planting and is grateful for Lord Cyril's blessing. 2. The northern goblins have captured a group of dwarves, including several blacksmiths and 1 master blacksmith. 3. Greenfield foxes have gathered to the west of my territory. 10. A half-elf has been sent to Tania Island. The dwarf blacksmith's presence makes the goblin threat even more urgent. Passive defense is unsustainable. The northern iron and gold mines are the lifeblood required for the territory's rise. I summoned Raphael and Eldon to the castle's council chamber. By the light of oil lamps, they gathered around a rough wooden table spread with a map of the bay and northern mountains, which I hoped would eventually be worth more than the parchment it was drawn on. We must proactively resolve the northern situation, I stated, pointing to the mineral veins. But first, we need better eyes. Raphael, what is our current intelligence on the goblins? Raphael stepped forward solemnly. Young master, scouting reports confirm over 5,000 goblins gathered in the mine tunnels. The force includes 1,000 warriors, 300 elites, and dozens of hobgoblins. They are led by a goblin chieftain and a shaman wielding a bone staff. The rest are weak and negligible. Hobgoblins possess the strength of elite knights, while warriors and elites match apprentice and elite knights respectively. The chieftain and shaman are equivalent to a grand knight and an archmage. Eldon added, previous scouting only monitored for raids. We know nothing of the tunnel's interior, defensive layout, or supply locations. My intelligence was sparse but clear. 5,000 goblins with a strong leader and shaman meant a frontal assault would inflict unacceptable losses on the Radiant Eagle Knights. We cannot fight head-on, I said, tapping the map. We need a smarter approach. Raphael asked, what do you mean, young master? We need eyes to provide continuous intelligence, I replied. Raphael, select your most agile and stealthy knights. Just 3 to 5. You will lead this reconnaissance team personally. Their task is to act like ghosts and uncover everything about the goblins. Understood, young master. Raphael immediately grasped the importance of a dedicated intelligence unit for future campaigns. Eldon, I turned, your task is logistics. Stockpile food, reinforce the town walls, and maximize production of arrows and armor repairs. We must be ready for a long standoff or an all-out war. Furthermore, continue the merit system. Tell everyone the northern mines will be our next source of rewards. Understood, young master. I will ensure logistics are flawless, Eldon promised. Raphael acted efficiently, selecting 4 men. One young man, Rain, caught my attention. An elite knight, Rain was praised by Raphael for his stealth and sharp senses. Having recently been rewarded with the fierce eagle breathing technique, he was fiercely loyal. I met the team. Rain appeared lean but possessed a bright, steady gaze, showing no fear before his lord. Rain, your skills are perfect for this squad, I said. Your mission is dangerous but vital. Monitor every goblin movement like shadows in the mountains. You don't need to fight, just bring back what you see and hear. Can you do this? I live to serve, my lord. Rain knelt, his voice filled with fervent devotion. Good. You are in charge. Succeed, and I will grant you further training within the Night Order, I promised. Rain accepted and led his team into the northern mountains. For 3 weeks, Rain's team did the legwork. The goblins were sharp by day, but lazy at night. They relied on a single underground river, kept their food in the mines, and protected themselves with nothing but flimsy wooden walls. Raphael and I took that intel and cooked up a plan, Operation Thunder and Fire. The strategy was simple. Surprise them, split them, and hit them where it hurts. First, Orlando would lead 20 apprentice knights to the ridge under cover of darkness. They'd toss fire oil into the caves, stir up some chaos, and make sure every goblin eye was pointed the wrong way. While the goblins were busy panicking, Raphael and I would lead the main force and the slave infantry in a frontal charge to corner the chieftain and the shaman. At the same time, Rain's team and a small detachment would sabotage the water supply. No water means no long-term fight, and a whole lot of extra panic. To wrap it up, our archers would focus fire on the shaman while Raphael took the chieftain, effectively decapitating their command structure. The plan was set, and the roles were handed out. It was time for war. The battle began on a foggy night with a thunderous explosion from the ridge. Orlando's team hurled fire oil, turning the goblin camp into a sea of flames and smoke, plunging the valley into chaos. For our home. For merit. Charge. Raphael drew his sword and led the main force into the valley like a flood. The battle turned white-hot. The goblins, initially stunned, swarmed the humans in a green tide. My army stood firm. The knights formed a wedge, their battle aura cutting through the goblin ranks like a hot knife through butter, though I suspect the goblins would have preferred a less culinary metaphor. Apprentice knights and infantry held the flanks, using spears and shields to create a wall of death. I remained on the front lines, my presence inspiring the knights to fight with even greater ferocity. Meanwhile, Rain's team successfully poisoned the water source, destroying the goblins' supply. The news spread, triggering widespread panic among the creatures. Humans. A roar erupted as the mountain-sized goblin chieftain charged out, wielding a massive, stone-studded club. It locked eyes on me. Protect the Lord. Raphael roared, surging forward with silver battle aura to intercept the beast. Raphael, kill the shaman first. I commanded, parrying a goblin's strike while pointing at the bone staff-wielding caster. Hobgoblins howled, rushing to shield their shaman. Raphael understood instantly, redirecting his strike to cleave through the guards toward the shaman, supported by a volley of arrows. I knew the shaman's dark magic was a greater threat than the chieftain's brute force. The chieftain reached me, swinging its massive club with enough force to crush a knight in heavy armor. "My lord, look out!" a nearby knight cried, unable to reach me in time. My pupils contracted. Knowing I couldn't block the blow, I lunged backward, bracing my sword diagonally. Boom! The club smashed into the ground, showering me with debris. The shockwave numbed my arm, but I had narrowly survived the fatal strike. The goblin chieftain, enraged by a missed strike, swung its club in a wide arc, forcing me to retreat desperately. Nearby, Raphael battled the shaman's guards. The shaman chanted, imbuing the hobgoblins with dark green energy that turned their eyes red and boosted their ferocity. Raphael snorted, channeling his gold-rank fierce eagle-breathing technique. His battle aura swirled as his sword turned into a blur of silver, striking with lethal precision. He cut down 2 buffed hobgoblins instantly, though his momentum stalled. The battlefield reached a stalemate. The chieftain pursued me while being harassed by elite knights, and the shaman pinned Raphael, while the leaderless goblins swarmed the human lines. I realized I had to break the deadlock and analyze the situation while dodging, which is a fantastic way to spend a Tuesday afternoon. I noted the chieftain's immense power was offset by predictable, clumsy attacks and poor mobility. A risky plan formed. The chieftain's club slammed into the dirt, and I lunged. I slipped past the weapon, closing the gap before he could recover. He hesitated, caught off guard. I seized the moment and drove my platinum-grade sword straight into his unprotected knee joint. The blade sank deep, spraying green blood. The chieftain howled in agony, collapsing to one knee. Nearby hobgoblins rushed in to intervene. "Your opponent is me," Raphael roared, blasting away the hobgoblins with a surge of battle aura and charging toward the kneeling chieftain. The shaman prepared a rotting green energy sphere to strike Raphael's back. At that critical moment, whoosh! An arrow struck the skull atop the shaman's staff. The skull shattered, causing the unstable energy to backfire on the shaman. The shaman screamed as black smoke rose from its body. It was Rain, perched on a boulder. Having finished sabotaging the water supply, he arrived just in time. Raphael didn't look back, focusing on the kill. He merged with his blade, his aura forming a brilliant pillar of light. Wind Eagle Strike. The chieftain's cry was cut short as Raphael's blade pierced its neck. The head flew off. The battlefield froze as the goblins witnessed their leader's death. Terror spread through the green horde. The goblins broke, turning their retreat into a frantic, trampling stampede. Seeing the defeat, the shaman scrambled to retreat into the mine. I watched Raphael intercept him and pierce the shaman's heart. With both leaders dead, the resistance collapsed into a one-sided slaughter. By noon, the battle ended, leaving the field littered with corpses and the stench of blood. The human army suffered casualties, including several fallen apprentice knights, but it was a glorious victory. Standing at the mine entrance, I felt a surge of pride for eliminating the threat with minimal cost. Raphael approached, blood-stained but triumphant. "We won," I exhaled. "Raphael, tend to the wounded and distribute spoils via the merit system." "Understood." I turned to Eldon, the administrator. "Clear the mine of traps and remnants. Then survey the ore reserves." Eldon looked at the mine, sensing the territory's future prosperity. I intended to manage the mine properly, unlike the wasteful goblins. I summoned Eldon and Raphael again. "We were lucky to catch them off guard, but the rewards are immense," I said excitedly. "We must utilize this wealth properly. First, build fortifications at the entrance and key points to prevent enemies from using our own tactics against us. Eldon, handle the logistics. Raphael, station 10 elite, 50 official, and 100 apprentice knights here. Choose them carefully." Both men agreed to my orders. Eldon, organize a mining crew using the merit system and implement shifts to avoid overworking them. Also, build a road to town and establish a smelting zone near the water source to process or before transport. Eldon nodded, hopeful for the future. I returned to the castle to await the final report. The report arrived shortly after. The Radiant Eagle Knights lost 13 apprentice knights, with many others, including 3 elite knights, severely wounded. The mine haul was worth the trouble. 30 dwarves, 30 tons of refined iron, 100 tons of ore, and over 120 magic crystals. I was thrilled, mostly by the dwarves. You don't pass up master smiths. I ordered them straight to the training grounds. My 30 new guests shuffled into the courtyard, looking anxious and terrified. I asked the group of timid dwarves how they ended up in the goblin mine. A stout, red-bearded dwarf stepped forward, explaining that they were wanderers captured by goblins to mine and smelt ore. I asked for the elder's name. The dwarf identified himself as Zillifu, the patriarch of the group. I inquired about their forging skills and invited them to join my territory. I was eager to recruit them, as my territory only had 3 blacksmiths and 10 apprentices. Blacksmiths are ranked: apprentice, blacksmith, master, grandmaster, and saint. Apprentices forge bronze gear, blacksmiths handle silver/gold, masters handle platinum/diamond, grandmasters handle earth/sky. Saint blacksmiths, capable of forging legendary saint rank gear, are essentially mythical in the current era. Blacksmiths and masters are further divided into ordinary and senior grades, with the latter capable of forging the higher tier gear in their bracket. Grandmasters follow the same hierarchical logic, as if the world didn't have enough titles for me to keep track of already. Zillifu was delighted. Human rule was far preferable to goblin slavery, and the prospect of a stable home was enticing. Zillifu stepped forward to reveal he was a master blacksmith, backed by 10 senior blacksmiths and 22 regular ones. A solid haul for a day's work. He pledged their absolute loyalty and service to me. I was thrilled. I realized the dwarves' innate talent was the only reason the goblins hadn't eaten them. The goblins were desperate for their forging skills. As it turned out, I was in dire need of that same expertise myself. I maintained my composure, welcomed them as my subjects, and tasked them with contributing to the territory's development. I promised them food, shelter, and security, vowing not to exploit them the way the goblins did. I appointed Zillifu to oversee the territory's forging operations, promising rewards for good performance. The dwarves were stirred by the promise of a safe, permanent home and pledged their loyalty. Zillifu was moved by the immediate trust and swore eternal allegiance to me. I balanced my kindness with a warning. I would provide rest, but I expected hard work, as my territory had no place for the lazy. Zillifu agreed, and I arranged for their settlement. With the goblin threat gone, I reflected on the internal weaknesses of my territory. The administrative system, built hastily for war, was now bloated and inefficient. I realized that without reform, the territory would stagnate despite its recent victory. I prepared parchment and ink to draft a new plan. I planned to appoint Eldon as chief administrator and reorganize the Radiant Eagle Knights, which currently consisted of 1 Grand Knight, 50 elite, 170 official, and 550 apprentice knights. I contemplated how to restructure the forces. I split my knights into 3 groups: mine defense, town security, and my personal guard. I kept Raphael as knight commander to oversee the whole lot. I assigned the Radiant Eagle Knights, 20 elite, 100 official, and 300 apprentice knights, to guard the town and the administrative center. I put Rain in charge of the Iron Eagle Knights, giving him 20 elite, 50 official, and 150 apprentice knights to secure the mines. I tasked Orlando with leading the Holy Feather Knights, consisting of 10 elite, 20 official, and 50 apprentice knights. Even though I had just promoted him, I could see his growth and loyalty were worth the gamble. I designated Orlando's unit to serve as my personal guard. I also appointed Zillifu as Minister of Public Works, putting him in charge of both forging and construction. Regarding taxes, I decided on a 5-year tax holiday, followed by a 1/15th agricultural tax, while contemplating commercial rates as I surveyed my land from the balcony, a view that made me feel like a landlord who had accidentally inherited a kingdom. I looked out over the terraced hills and the vast, resource-rich ocean. I called for Avril. The head maid stepped forward, ready for my orders. I instructed her to summon Eldon, the officers, Raphael, and Rain for a meeting, and to announce that I would unveil the cornerstone decree to all subjects. Avril acknowledged the order, sensing the coming change. The next day, the castle hall was prepared. Officials and knights gathered, the atmosphere solemn and expectant. I stood at the end of the table, my hands resting on the map, feeling like a prop in a play I hadn't bothered to read the script for. I declared the territory's official name, Orloff Territory. I announced the new appointments: Eldon as Chief Administrator, Zilifu as Minister of Public Works, and confirmed the other departmental roles. I finalized the military command: Raphael for the Radiant Eagle Knights, Orlando for the Holy Feather Knights, and Rain for the Iron Eagle Knights. The attendees expressed their joy and gratitude to me for the appointments. The Orloff Territory is our home and our cage. For the next 3 years, our core focus will be agriculture and fishing. All policies must prioritize this. I ordered a resurvey of all arable land. I implemented a 5-year tax exemption, followed by a 15% tax policy to encourage land reclamation, granting settlers full ownership of new land for the first 3 years. The Works Department will handle the infrastructure, I said, turning to the bearded Zilifu. Zilifu nodded. We will execute your arrangements, Lord Cyril. I continued. Organize experienced fishermen into teams. The Works Department will prioritize building and repairing boats and nets. The territory will purchase a portion of the catch for dried fish reserves and rations. Also, explore coastal shellfish farming. I turned to Raphael. The Radiant Eagle Knights will secure the town and dispatch squads to clear low-level magical beasts that threaten farming and fishing. Understood, my lord, Raphael replied. I then unveiled my reforms for the Knight Orders, specifically the Holy Feather Knights. The Radiant Eagle Knights must reorganize. Raphael, you will command the main force: 20 elite knights, 100 official knights, and 300 apprentice knights to garrison the town. Rain, your Iron Eagle Knights, 20 elite, 50 official, and 150 apprentice knights, will secure the mines. I looked at the young Orlando. The Holy Feather Knights, as my personal guard, will no longer just guard the castle. Orlando straightened, his eyes burning with intensity. The Holy Feather Knights will be the sharpest sword and strongest shield of the Orloff territory. I shall grant you power, I declared with authority, excluding those Orlando has already received. All members, 10 elite, 20 official, and 50 apprentice knights, are hereby granted the gold rank Fierce Eagle Breathing Technique. The selected knights, already present in the hall, stood ready. Gold rank. The hall gasped. Even Raphael and Rain looked on with shock and envy. My generosity was beyond imagination. Orlando knelt, hand over his heart, voice trembling with emotion. I, Orlando, swear my life and honor to follow Lord Cyril. Where his sword points, my heart follows, even into the abyss. The other knights knelt in unison, their gratitude creating a palpable atmosphere of absolute loyalty. They had gained not just power, but honor and duty. They understood they were now the Lord's most trusted force, bound to his fate. Finally, I announced my most visionary decision: the founding of 2 academies. A territory's strength relies on continuous talent. I am establishing a Culture Academy and a Knight Academy. The Culture Academy will teach administration, law, arithmetic, and history. Graduates will fill administrative and tax roles. Tuition is 10 silver coins annually for ages 8 to 18. The Knight Academy will teach martial arts, battle aura, military command, and beast identification. All aspiring knights must complete 3 years of study to earn the title. Tuition is 1 gold coin annually. The 1 gold coin fee shocked the officials as an immense sum for commoners. I explained, becoming a knight is a leap in status. The high fee covers equipment, potions, and instructors, while ensuring we select only the most determined and talented. However, I raised my voice. To ensure poverty doesn't bury talent, those who have rendered meritorious service to the territory may have their children's tuition waived. This applies to former slaves who have earned freeman status through service. This news hit like a boulder. For slaves, who were usually mere property, this was a powerful incentive to strive for the territory. Even commoners were stunned, as other lords would never allow them to study alongside the elite. Eldon will oversee the academies, and Zilifu will handle construction, I concluded. The next day, in the square, I stood on a high platform, explaining the new policies to all my subjects, including the slaves, in simple terms. Farmers and fishermen cheered at the news of agricultural and fishing support. The crowd looked toward the castle with awe when they heard about the gold rank technique for the Holy Feather Knights. When the academy policy, especially the merit-based free tuition, was announced, the square erupted in an unprecedented roar. Academies. The Lord is building academies. My son has a chance. Slaves stared with newfound, intense hope. Under my system, freedom and a future for their children were no longer impossible dreams, but tangible rewards for my hard work. I watched the wave of reforms sweep across the island. I had the land remeasured, and I put the dwarf workshops to work day and night forging superior tools for my farmers. I tasked Zilifu with surveying the coast to expand the fishing port and build large smokehouses for processing our fish. I empowered the Holy Feather Knights with the fierce eagle-breathing technique, and I watched them train with newfound fervor and absolute loyalty. Orlando excelled at his tasks, managing the team and establishing tight security around my castle. I made the construction of the academies my top priority, mobilizing most of the workforce to build dorms and training grounds. I knew that everyone understood these buildings would change their lives forever. Eldon was appointed head of the Culture Academy, and Raphael head of the Knight Academy. Eldon and Raphael stood in the castle study, where I reviewed the preliminary curriculum on rough parchment, wondering if I was actually qualified to teach anyone anything. Eldon, I said, the Culture Academy's first phase will focus on literacy, arithmetic, law, and family history. The second phase will branch into administration, economics, and literature. Focus on recording local history and compiling chronicles for now. We can train clerks and teachers later. A wise plan, Eldon nodded, though we are severely lacking in instructors, especially for economics and law. I know, I tapped the desk. Have current officials teach part-time for extra pay. Also, issue a notice recruiting scholars, retired clerks, or even educated exiles with generous terms. We need all available talent. Understood. Eldon recorded the order, recognizing it as a bold but necessary move. As for the Knight Academy, I picked up another paper. Battle, aura, and basic combat are the foundation, led by Raphael and the elite knights. But discipline, honor, teamwork, and loyalty are paramount. Raphael, I want you to personally oversee the Academy's ideological education to instill loyalty to the Lord and the protection of our home. Understood, my lord. Raphael looked solemn. He knew he was tasked with forging the Lord's future sword and shield. Also, add courses on wilderness survival, basic tactics, and magical beast identification. Our knights cannot be mere brutes. I mused. I will write the basic battle aura and tactical guides. The rest will be dictated by instructors and recorded by the students of the Literary Academy as practical training. Just as I was ramping up academy preparations, a crisis decided to crash the party. An alarm blared through a northern fishing village on a foggy morning. When the Radiant Eagle Knights and I arrived, we found a mess, shattered huts, massive slime-covered claw marks, and shredded nets everywhere. Fortunately, the fog had kept the fishermen docked, so only 2 of them had minor injuries. It's a deep-sea lizard, an elder told Raphael and me. It was as big as the pier. Its claws are like anchors, and ordinary swords can't pierce its hide. It dragged away our spare boats. The deep-sea lizard is a Tier 5 water-type magical beast, famous for its bad attitude and armor that's a nightmare to get through. Raphael looked grave. Young Master Cyril, a Tier 5 beast requires a Grand Knight and several elite knights to kill safely. Should I recall men from the Radiant Eagle Knights, or go myself? I looked at the lingering fog and the terrified villagers, shaking my head. No, the Radiant Eagle Knights must hold the town. This is an opportunity to test our new system and unite the people. I turned to Orlando. Summon the Holy Feather Knights. Issue a decree. Any freeman or slave who aids in the hunt will be rewarded with silver or gold coins based on merit. Slaves may even earn their freedom. As you command, Lord Cyril. Orlando, ignited with battle intent, departed immediately. The decree spread quickly. Greed and the hope of freedom drove several veteran fishermen to step forward, identifying the lizard's likely lairs. 2 strong young slaves, former tribal warriors, also gained permission to fight for their freedom. 3 days later, when the seas calmed, The hunt began. The Holy Feather Knights deployed with 10 elite knights, 20 official knights, and 50 apprentice knights for support. The 2 slave warriors were allowed to join with crude weapons. I personally oversaw the operation, guarded by Orlando and his elites, boosting morale significantly. Or perhaps they were just relieved I wasn't trying to hold a sword myself. Guided by the fishermen, they found the deep-sea lizard in a sea cave, gnawing on fish remains, its dark green scales and cold eyes glinting. "Form up," Orlando commanded. The Holy Feather Knights, practicing the fierce eagle-breathing technique, formed a circle. Their battle aura felt hotter and more refined, a testament to the gold rank technique. The battle erupted. The lizard roared, its tail sweeping with enough force to shatter rock. "Aim for the eyes and belly." Orlando led the charge, his sword glowing with intense battle aura as he dodged the beast's lunges to strike at its eyes. Elite knights pinned the beast from the flanks, while official knights targeted its joints and soft underbelly. I watched the 2 slave warriors fight with surprising ferocity, using harpoons and machetes to harass the beast's legs and keep it from moving. The fight was intense. I saw an official knight get struck by the tail and sent flying, but apprentice knights immediately dragged him to safety. Fierce eagle slash. Orlando seized an opening, condensing his battle aura into a golden blade of light that struck the lizard's open mouth as it prepared a frost breath. Squelch. The blade pierced deep, causing massive internal damage. I heard the lizard wail as it faltered. "Now, attack with everything," Orlando roared. The knights surged forward, their weapons raining down on the beast's head and neck until the Tier 5 monster collapsed into the water. Victory! Cheers echoed on the beach. Though battered, the Holy Feather Knights celebrated their first victory, proving both their worth and the power of the gold rank technique. I checked the wounded before approaching the 2 blood-soaked, panting slave warriors. They looked at me with a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. "Your names?" I asked. "Jusher, my lord," the taller one replied. "Haijua," said the scarred one. "Jusher Haijua," I said firmly. "I saw your bravery. You protected our people and removed a threat. By my word, I, Cyril Stewart, declare you both freemen." I personally cut the grass ropes, symbolizing their slavery. "From today, you are freemen of Orloff territory. Your past is wiped clean. Obey the law and work hard, and no one will call you slaves again. Furthermore, as a reward for your courage, you are admitted to the Knight Academy and granted 1 gold coin each." Jusher and Haijua were stunned, then overcome with joy. They knelt, choking with emotion. "Thank you, my lord. We will serve you forever." The onlookers were shocked. The Lord's promise was kept. Merit truly could change one's fate. A new sense of hope took root among the slaves and commoners. Jusher and Haijua's rewards and their shiny new seats at the Knight Academy acted like a shot of adrenaline for the territory. Everyone went on a merit-seeking spree, and I watched as new houses and streets sprouted from the dirt like weeds. 3 months flew by, and my administration department finally stopped being a disaster. Everything became systematic, efficient, and actually specialized. At dusk, Eldon and Raphael marched into my study, clutching a development report and the latest updates on the Knight Order's training. "Young Master Cyril, we have compiled the construction results from the past 9 months, Eldon said respectfully, handing over the report. I gave a nod, signaling for Eldon to get on with it, genuinely eager to see if my territory was actually growing or just burning through my coin. Eldon explained that even with me forcing them to prioritize walls and defensive infrastructure against goblins for the first half-year, they'd still managed to reclaim farmland and build over 3,000 houses, finally giving the town a proper inner and outer city layout. The 100-hectare castle district, complete with the core keep, stables, training grounds, and gardens, was officially finished. I looked out the window at a scene that felt less like a military fortress and more like an architectural symphony of white stone and glass, though I suspect the architect was just showing off for the sake of his own ego. The main keep's Skyview Tower pierced the clouds, its gold-leafed spire burning brilliantly under the afternoon sun like a giant candle lit for the gods. Shorter towers with lead-gray spires stood like humble guards, their edges catching the sunlight in a magnificent contrast to the deep shadows. The castle walls, crafted from Tania Island's unique, warm-toned milky marble, had weathered the elements beautifully. Intricate arched windows, flying buttresses, and gargoyles shaped like family legend griffins and spirits adorned the exterior, silently gazing into the distance. Beyond the bronze window lattices, the inner courtyard garden was a palette of blue and purple hydrangeas and fragrant red and pink rose labyrinths. A marble fountain stood at the center, its spraying water catching the sunlight and creating dancing rainbows. Further out, the sturdy city walls stretched along the ridge like a dragon's spine, punctuated by flag-adorned watchtowers. Blue flags bearing the raven with a sword crest snapped in the breeze. They were loud, clear, and did a better job of declaring ownership than I ever could. Beyond the walls, my territory stretched out, fertile fields, dense forests, and a winding river, all painted in a vibrant, lush green. I led Eldon and Raphael to the watchtower, surveying the thriving, illuminated territory below. The once barren land was now home to 3,000 sturdy wooden stone houses. Seeing the smoke rising from their chimneys, I finally felt the town had a soul. Near the wooden walls, the workshop district hummed. I could hear blacksmiths quenching tools and smell the sharp scent of fresh wood shavings mixed with baking bread. A bustling market had formed along the main road. I watched women trade eggs and vegetables while merchants led pack horses past curious children. Beyond the outer city, a new canal irrigated the vast, reclaimed farmland, where wheat, potatoes, and pumpkins grew in abundance. This was the foundation of my territory's future. I often saw residents visiting their personal plots after work, their eyes filled with hope for the coming harvest. A secondary stone wall separated the inner city, the hub for administration, storage, and the Radiant Eagle Knights, from the outer city. The administrative center was already bustling with activity, serving as the heart of the territory's operations. Eldon said with quiet pride, "As you can see, young master, we have not only survived, but truly taken root. We prioritized fertile land near water, reclaiming 4,500 mu, mostly for potatoes to ensure quick food security before diversifying crops. The next month and a half until the first harvest is our greatest challenge, requiring strict rationing. Our hunting and fishing teams provide 200 to 300 gene of meat daily, significantly reducing grain consumption. With over 6,000 people housed and employed, the goblin threat is a distant memory. Now, we need time, advanced skills, and commercial growth." I gazed at my territory, seeing a future of infinite possibility. "You've done well, Eldon. Focus on agriculture, but it is time to develop commerce. My territory cannot remain isolated." I turned to Raphael, dying to hear how my knight orders were coming along. After all, they were the foundation of my power. Raphael stepped forward and performed a standard knight salute. "Young master, here is the summary of the 3 knight orders: training, defense, and personnel changes from the past month." I took the file. "First, your personal guard, the Holy Feather Knights," Raphael began. "The fierce eagle-breathing technique has exceeded expectations. Its efficiency in accumulating battle aura far surpasses the bronze and silver grades. Orlando, using the platinum-grade eagle-breathing technique you bestowed, has made rapid progress, his battle aura now a dense, pale gold. He is on the verge of breaking through to Elite Knight, and, with his high-quality aura, can already hold his own against my veteran Elite Knights. The 10 Elite Knights in the Holy Feather Order have seen their stagnant cultivation loosen, with 2 increasing their aura strength by nearly 30%. 5 of the 20 official knights have promoted to Elite, and the 50 apprentice knights have nearly all reached their peak. We expect a large number of promotions to official knight in the next few months, significantly bolstering your protection." I nodded, satisfied, and signaled for Raphael to continue. "Next, the Radiant Eagle Knights, who use the silver-grade wind eagle-breathing technique," Raphael reported. "The 20 elite knights have improved their combat efficiency and aura recovery during monster suppression missions. 2 veteran official knights promoted to elite, and over 30 apprentice knights became official knights after being rewarded with the wind eagle-breathing technique for their bravery. Finally, the Iron Eagle Knights at the mines primarily use the bronze-grade fledgling eagle-breathing technique, with elites and some officials using the wind eagle-breathing technique." Despite the harsh environment, 8 apprentice knights promoted to official knight this month, a commendable feat given their breathing technique. Notably, Commander Rain, using his elite foundation and the fierce eagle breathing technique, has reported feeling a bottleneck and may soon attempt to break through to Grand Knight. Raphael concluded, high-grade breathing techniques have revitalized our orders. The Holy Feather Knights are a blade ready to be drawn. The Radiant Eagle Knights are our pillar, and the Iron Eagle Knights are hardening their foundation. Our total number of elite knights has increased from 50 to 62, with a healthy replenishment of official knights. Suggest offering higher-tier breathing techniques to members of the Iron Eagle and Radiant Eagle Knights who demonstrate merit or potential to boost morale and loyalty. I tapped my desk, satisfied. The report confirmed that my resource investments were rapidly forging a stronger, more loyal knight force. Young Master Cyril, Raphael said solemnly, with the knight's rapid growth, we need a formal promotion and resource allocation system. I nodded. Explain. Raphael presented a document. Establish clear standards. Apprentice knights promoted to official knights may apply for the Wind Eagle breathing technique. Elite knights with sufficient merit or talent may apply for the Fierce Eagle breathing technique. Good, I mused, but we must preserve the Holy Feather Knight's uniqueness. Agreed. They remain your personal guard, all practicing the Fierce Eagle breathing technique. However, I suggest a strict elimination system. Monthly bottom performers lose their training privileges until they prove their worth. I nodded approvingly. This maintains their elite status and drives continuous progress. Secondly, Raphael continued, we must refine training. Fierce Eagle practitioners require high-intensity combat, while Wind Eagle users need a balance of technique and endurance. How will you adjust? I've ordered tailored plans. Holy Feather Knights undergo 6 hours of high-intensity combat daily. Radiant Eagle Knights focus on wilderness survival and long-distance raids. Iron Eagle Knights specialize in defensive formations and mine warfare. Orlando arrived, still in his training gear and sweating. Young Master, Raphael, Orlando said, eyes bright. I have an important discovery. Speak. While practicing the eagle breathing technique, I noticed environmental effects. High altitudes increase battle aura circulation by nearly 10%. It seems linked to the eagle-type nature of the technique. Raphael's eyes flashed. Crucial. If the environment boosts efficiency, we must reevaluate our stationing. I stood up. Orlando, keep recording these effects. Raphael, assist him in finding the optimal training sites for each unit. Understood, they replied. Present a plan within a month, I commanded. They agreed. Once they left, I finally got around to my long-delayed task. I planned to plant the seed of life from the eagle territory. The pond behind the castle, rich in life energy, looked like the perfect spot for it. I told Orlando to grab the captured silver moon fish and meet me at the water's edge. Standing by the pond, I held the seed of life. It felt like a warm, pulsing piece of jade, the heart of a sleeping star. The air around me grew thick and sweet, heavy with silent anticipation. I breathed in the scent of moss and earth, now completely overshadowed by the seed's primal life essence. Kneeling, I cleared a space in the fertile, spring-fed soil and carefully placed the seed. Time seemed to freeze. Thump! A profound tremor struck my soul. The seed hit the earth like a drop of primal life essence hitting the surface of reality, which is a rather dramatic way for a plant to start its day. A translucent, pale green ripple expanded from the seed, traversing both matter and energy. Where the ripple passed, soil turned obsidian-rich, grass sprouted, flowers bloomed, and the air purified, filtering out all impurities. This was only the prelude. A deep rumble followed. It wasn't an earthquake, but the sound of the earth itself being reshaped by a creator's power. I watched in awe as the pond's banks expanded outward like unfolding petals. Clear water surged from the depths, joyfully filling the newly created basin. The water assimilated the surrounding land, smoothing rocks and integrating them into the new shore. Within minutes, the landscape was transformed. The small pond was gone, replaced by a wide, sapphire-blue lake reflecting the sky and lush trees. In the center, a fertile, circular island rose like a natural altar, cradling the heart of the change. The seed of life was no longer a seed. It had sprouted instantly, its growth a perfect, rapid manifestation of its internal blueprint. A slender, resilient trunk of milky white emerged, pulsing with rhythmic green light. Branches formed in perfect geometric harmony, adorned with emerald, wing-thin leaves flowing with green light. Within moments, a human-sized sapling stood in the center, radiating ancient solemnity. It stood as the beating heart of the lake and the forest, radiating a steady, vibrant life force. I realized then that the spring itself was extraordinary. I had always felt the water was refreshing, but with my senses heightened by the tree of life, I perceived a deep, pure, ancient life energy hidden within the earth. This hidden dragon vein was likely what drew me to the site and provided the foundation for the seed's transformation. Now, the tree of life resonated with this source, acting as a key to a long-sealed treasury. A low-frequency vibration filled the air. The once faint life energy in the water became rich and active. The entire lake had ascended, becoming a true lake of life. The lake water had become crystal clear, with a faint green glow, originating from the sapling at its center, pulsing deep beneath the surface. The air near the shore was incredibly fresh. Every breath revitalized the lungs, soothing hidden injuries and clearing mental fatigue. I knelt and scooped up a handful of water. It felt cool, not with a biting chill, but with a vibrant, life-giving energy that seeped into my meridians. I felt a pure, gentle energy flow up my arm, nourishing my muscles and bones, even accelerating the rotation of the nascent true chi vortex in my dantian. This is a holy land for cultivation. My eyes shone with excitement. I realized the lake's immense value. It was the ultimate training ground for apprentice knights. The core of the apprentice knight stage involves grueling physical conditioning and sensing ambient energy to condense the first thread of true chi, breaking the mortal limit to become an official knight. This process is perilous, and I know countless aspirants remain stuck at the sensing or condensation stage for their entire lives. Here, however, the lake's potent, gentle life energy would cleanse my body and nourish my soul from within. Training while submerged is akin to receiving a constant infusion of pure life energy, which I expect will drastically strengthen my foundation and shorten the time required for physical tempering. Furthermore, the pervasive life energy acts as a beacon, guiding me to sense and capture power, significantly lowering the barrier to entry. When I attempt to condense true chi, the lake's energy serves as a catalyst, boosting my success rates and protecting me from severe backlash during failure. With long-term training here, I figure the probability of an apprentice knight advancing to official knight would increase several times over. The lake's benefits extend beyond apprentices. It is a rare treasure for official knights and even higher-level powerhouses. Beyond the apprentice stage, cultivation focuses on accumulating and purifying true chi, which demands massive energy and extreme physical tempering. Whether consumed or used for immersion, the water accelerates true chi recovery and growth far more efficiently than standard meditation or magic crystals. It also continuously tempers the body and meridians, increasing their resilience against the pressures of high-level cultivation and making stubborn bottlenecks easier to break. Surveying the revitalized lake, I called to the stunned Orlando and his men, "Bring the silver moon fish." Orlando and his men snapped out of their stupor. Witnessing such a miracle, they looked at me with even greater fervor and religious devotion. Orlando quickly brought the magic water bag containing the silver moon fish, creatures known for their extreme sensitivity to energy environments and pure life form. I broke the seal and submerged the bag. Silver streaks poured out like liquid mercury, merging into the lake. The fish initially gathered in a tight, cautious silver sphere in the shallows, their scales reflecting starlight as they assessed their new home. This caution vanished quickly as they sensed the lake's unparalleled, life-affirming affinity, a warmth that felt like a mother's embrace. The school relaxed, dispersing gracefully as if performing a dance to celebrate their newfound freedom. Their streamlined bodies cut through the surface, their silver scales blending with the lake's green glow to create iridescent, aurora-like colors. They dove into the depths to chase ribbons of light or leaped into the air, their splashes shimmering with vitality. These precious resources had fully integrated into the sanctuary, adding a dynamic, lively spirit to the tranquil environment. Their presence, combined with the glowing tree of life, turned the lake into a perfect, harmonious masterpiece of nature. Standing by the shore, I felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction and responsibility. This was no longer just a secret base. It was a cradle of hope, the foundation upon which I would build my future power and protect my followers. Envisioning my knights growing and breaking through, I turned to Orlando. From today, the Lake of Life is a restricted area. No one enters without my permission. However, we won't waste it. Orlando, arrange for the Holy Feather Knights to train here in shifts. Also, tell Uncle Raphael to select elite members from the other 2 knight orders for monthly rotations. Feeling the vibrant energy, Orlando replied with excitement. Yes, young Master Cyril. We will guard this place with our lives. I nodded, though I noted that my territory's rapid growth was straining its population, much like a pair of trousers that have seen one too many feasts. It is time to visit Iron Bay Port and see Governor Herbert, I thought. I checked the daily intelligence first thing the next morning. 1. A dragon has left its nest 300 kilometers north. A group of Earth dragons is eyeing the abandoned dragon egg. 2. A herd of unicorn horses, led by a Tier 6 magical beast, is resting at a stream 80 kilometers west. 3. An auction at Iron Bay Port will feature a half-elf girl about to awaken her talent. 9. A man in the wild market outside Iron Bay Port is selling a fake gold-grade breathing technique as part of a conspiracy. 10. Harlan Zenz, a shunned noble youth, has arrived on Tania Island to smuggle weapons. I analyzed the incoming data immediately. My eyes locked onto the third item, a half-elf girl with awakening talent. Such a talent was rare and far more valuable than a trained knight. Exactly what my territory needed. Perfect. I need more people and special talent anyway, I decided. The trip to Iron Bay Port was now essential. My maid, Avril, entered with water and a towel, her movements precise and her expression focused. Good morning, young master. She helped me wash and presented a tailored, deep blue hunting outfit, practical for travel, yet dignified for a lord. Avril smoothed my collar and cuffs with practiced, silent efficiency, her care evident in every gesture. Once finished, I commanded, "Summon Orlando." Moments later, Orlando entered the study, wearing light ceremonial armor adorned with the golden eagle emblem of the Holy Feather Knights. Orlando bowed with disciplined precision. "Young Master Cyril, you summoned me? Prepare to depart for Iron Bay Port. Select a group of Holy Feather Knights, alert, steady, and skilled in protection." I glanced at Avril, who stood quietly nearby. "Avril will accompany us." "Understood. I shall assemble the men and carriages immediately." Orlando's eyes gleamed with intensity. He was determined to execute this first major diplomatic and trade mission for the Holy Feather Knights with flawless perfection. Within an hour, a sharp, impressive contingent gathered in the courtyard. My carriage, pulled by 4 jet-black steeds, bore the family crest. 20 Holy Feather Knights sat atop warhorses, their silver armor polished to a mirror finish and their sky-blue cloaks embroidered with golden eagles. They radiated a silent, elite aura that made me feel significantly underdressed. Orlando led the formation from the back of a magnificent white horse, scanning the surroundings with the intensity of a hawk. Avril sat opposite me inside the carriage, a basket of refreshments and emergency supplies tucked at her side. "Move out." At Orlando's command, the unit departed for Iron Bay Port. I had commissioned a coastal road leading directly to Wanya Cape as a strategic escape route, just in case my anti-goblin defenses failed and I needed to make a quick exit. By afternoon, we reached the bustling Iron Bay Port, where the air was thick with the scent of salt, the clamor of crowds, and the symphony of ship whistles. They headed straight to the governor's mansion, where Governor Herbert greeted me warmly in the parlor. "Cyril, it has been a while. You carry yourself with increasing composure," remarked Herbert, a stout, kindly-looking man whose sharp eyes betrayed a keen intellect. Over tea, they discussed the stability of my territory and my desire to recruit skilled craftsmen and voluntary migrants from the port. Herbert provided an update on trade and promised to facilitate my requests. As the meeting concluded, Herbert recalled a high-profile auction hosted by the Blackwater Chamber of Commerce at the Grand Theater that evening. They deal in rare treasures from across the continent, even some unique living goods. You might find it interesting. I am much obliged, Governor. I noted that the intel was accurate, saving me the trouble of searching. That night, the Grand Theater was a hub of opulence, filled with wealthy merchants and nobles amidst the scent of perfume and cigars. Using Herbert's invitation, my group was escorted to a private second-floor box. The box was plush and private, offering a clear view of the stage from behind ornate railings. Orlando stationed 2 knights outside while he, 2 others, and Avril stood guard inside. Avril remained vigilant, watching the surroundings. The auction began with a vibrant, multicolored coral bonsai from the eastern continent, which sold for 800 gold coins. Next, 3 vials of diluted spring of life water sparked a fierce bidding war among the noble women. Next, Lot 17, the auctioneer announced. Next, Lot 17, the auctioneer repeated, as 2 men brought out a stand covered in red cloth. A platinum-grade Frost Whisperer sword, forged by dwarf masters from the northern glaciers. The cloth revealed a shimmering, icy blue blade that radiated a chilling aura. It cuts through hair like silk and carries a frost enchantment. Starting bid, 400 gold coins. Bidding surged instantly. 450. 600. As the price hit 1,400 gold, I noticed Orlando's eyes light up. I decided to gift the weapon to Orlando, knowing a superior blade would enhance his guardian's ability to protect both the territory and me. Orlando, place a bid. This sword is a gift for you. Orlando hesitated, his eyes flashing with emotion. But, young Master Cyril, I waved him off. I want you to have the strength to protect our land and me. I then shouted the bid. Deeply moved, Orlando looked at me with fervent loyalty. Yes, young master, my life is yours to command. 2,000 gold coins. The price silenced the room. It was an exorbitant sum for a platinum-grade weapon, and no one dared to challenge me. I secured the sword for Orlando, and the auction continued. After several rounds, the auctioneer unveiled a cage covered in black cloth. Ladies and gentlemen, behold a symbol of power and loyalty, a juvenile thunder-wing lion. Inside, a calf-sized lion cub with golden fur and small, fleshy wings paced restlessly, sparks of electricity dancing in its mane. An adult thunder-wing lion rivals 5 knights. Starting bid, 1,200 gold coins. The cub sparked a frenzy, with the price soaring past 2,500 gold before a wealthy merchant claimed it for 3,000. I remained unmoved. I was waiting for the main event. After the lion was removed, the auctioneer's expression turned solemn and suggestive. Distinguished guests, prepare your paddles. Our final, most enchanting lot, a half-elf girl with ancient elven blood. A gasp rippled through the crowd as a large, black-covered cage was wheeled onto the stage. The auctioneer tore away the cloth. A girl huddled in the corner, her tattered linen dress barely concealing her slender frame and translucent skin. Her long, dark green hair framed pointed elven ears, and her features were a breathtaking blend of ethereal grace and human softness. Yet, her emerald eyes were filled with terror, humiliation, and a flicker of unyielding defiance. She gripped the iron bars until her knuckles turned white, trembling like a flower in a storm. Starting bid, 2,000 gold. Think of it. Long life, beauty, and potential magic. Whether as a maid, a guard, or a private collection, she is the ultimate status symbol. 2,100, 2,200, 2,300, 2,500. Bidding was fierce, fueled by the possessive glares of the men in the audience. As the price climbed, the pace slowed, leaving only a few wealthy merchants in contention. Seeing the girl's desperate yet defiant gaze, I decided it was time. I raised my paddle, my voice calm and absolute. 5,000 gold coins. A bid of double the current price silenced the room, my intent clear. All eyes, including those of the wealthy merchants, locked onto my second-floor box. They assessed my calm demeanor and the elite, well-armored knights standing behind me. likely mistaking my boredom for some calculated, grand strategy. Offending a mysterious, powerful noble over a half-elf girl was clearly unwise. The auctioneer shouted excitedly, 5,000 gold coins. Any higher? Going once, twice, 3 times. Sold. The gavel fell. Congratulations to this gentleman for acquiring this unique, living treasure. Orlando relaxed his grip on his sword. Avril whispered to me, young master, she looks terrified. After the payment, the half-elf girl was let out of the cage, her wrists and ankles still shackled. She trembled, head bowed, as if awaiting a final judgment. I approached, stopping a few steps away to keep from being a threat, and waved my guards back. Do not be afraid, I said calmly. The trade is over. You are free. No one will cage you again. The girl stared at me, her emerald eyes filled with confusion. I didn't buy you as a slave, I continued. I am a lord developing a territory and need talent. I can sense a power within you that you may not even realize. The girl's pupils contracted in disbelief. At my nod, Avril stepped forward and draped a thick, dark blue wool cloak over the girl's trembling shoulders. The warmth eased her fear. Come to my territory, I said firmly. You will find freedom, respect, and guidance there. You are not property. You are my subject. If you prove your worth, you may gain higher status. The choice is yours. My calm respect and Avril's kindness began to melt the girl's frozen heart. Tears streamed down her pale cheeks, not from despair, but from overwhelming relief. She let go of her tattered dress and said in broken, rhythmic common, I am Liana. Thank you, master. Call me young Master Cyril, I smiled. Welcome, Liana. They returned to a private residence in Iron Bay Port, the administrative center for Tania Island. I instructed, Avril, take her to wash up and get some clean clothes. Yes, young master. Avril said kindly to Liana. Follow me. Everything is over now. Liana glanced at me, and I nodded, and she followed Avril. Young master, we are ready, Avril announced later. Enter, I replied. Avril stepped aside as Liana entered, looking hesitant. The study seemed to brighten instantly. The terrified girl from the auction was gone, replaced by a stunning beauty. Her dark green hair was clean and silky, shimmering under the lights. Avril had chosen a soft, light green dress with vine patterns that suited her natural aura. The dress highlighted her slender figure, revealing her breathtaking beauty. Her skin was fair, her features exquisite, and her emerald eyes were like deep forest pools. The fear in her eyes had faded, replaced by a cautious, budding hope. She wasn't used to the attention. She twisted her dress and blushed, her long ears twitching. I found her innocence and ethereal half-elf charm genuinely captivating. Liana stood awkwardly, still anxious under my deep, soul-piercing gaze. I focused, sensing a faint, vibrant energy around her, like a sprout breaking through soil. This was no ordinary half-elf aura. Liana, I said gently, I hope you see this as a new beginning. I sense a unique, life-filled power within you. Is it a gift of your elven blood, or something else? I asked with genuine concern rather than pressure. Liana stiffened, clutching her teacup. She looked at me, struggling with the fear of her newfound, mysterious memories. I leaned forward. Do not fear. Whatever it is a gift. In my territory, we don't fear special talents. We nurture them. Tell me, perhaps I can help. My trust finally broke through her defenses. Recalling my kindness, she realized I was nothing like her former captors. Tears filled her eyes again. Young Master Cyril, I don't know how to explain. While I was in the cage, memories suddenly appeared in my mind. She took a breath. Fragments of knowledge about plants and nature. I instinctively know how to communicate with them and help them grow. There are also strange recipes for herbal salves and potions. They call it natural magic and alchemy. She whispered, I'm scared. I don't know what's happening. I feel like a monster. She bowed her head, exhausted, waiting for my verdict. Contrary to her fears, I didn't react with disgust. I calmly explained, this isn't becoming a monster, Liana. It's an awakening of your bloodline talent under pressure. Natural magic and alchemy are rare and powerful gifts. These abilities can heal wounds, accelerate crop growth, and create miraculous potions. They are invaluable assets for my territory and the people who need help. Liana looked up in disbelief, finding only calm acceptance and genuine appreciation in my eyes, with no trace of greed or aversion. Oh, really? Is this truly a useful ability? You don't think I'm a freak? Of course not, I smiled. I see you as a precious gift to my territory. Once we return and settle in, we will find you books and establish a medicinal garden for your research. At that moment, Liana's last shred of fear and doubt vanished. The trauma of being auctioned as a commodity was replaced by this sincere acceptance. Her green eyes shone with hope and determination. After speaking with Liana, I had Avril take her to rest, then returned to my study to plan my approach to the youth named Harlans. I instructed Orlando. Investigate if there is a young noble in Iron Bay port posing as a merchant while secretly smuggling goods. Orlando replied, Understood, young Master Cyril. I will see to it immediately. I nodded and dismissed him. The next day, I sat in a secluded mansion in Iron Bay port, waiting for the Holy Feather Knights to bring me the truth. Master, it is confirmed. Harlan's Inns, the third son of the Inns family, was exiled to Tania Island last year to manage fur and spice trades due to his lowborn mother and unruly nature. He has indeed been secretly contacting shady merchants to sell contraband. I tapped the table. What is it? The knight whispered, Burning iron, Oregon. My eyes sharpened. It was a strictly controlled strategic material. While not for forging legendary weapons, adding its powder to standard armor and blades significantly enhances their durability and strength. More importantly, the ore is highly unstable and can be ignited to produce intense heat and explosions, making it a core component for siege weapons. Selling it is a capital offense. He's bold, I smirked. Arrange a meeting. Somewhere discreet. At dusk, the Iron Bay port docks were bathed in orange light, filled with the pungent scent of fish, spices, and sweat. The Kraken's Throat Tavern sat deep in the district, its weathered sign creaking as rowdy sailor songs drifted from within. I entered the tavern's back door, accompanied by Orlando and two sharp-eyed Holy Feather Knights in plain leather armor. Their guide signaled the bouncer, who silently opened a heavy door leading to a steep staircase down to the cellar. The basement air was thick with the smell of moldy wood and salted fish. A dim oil lamp cast flickering, distorted shadows over stacked barrels, providing just enough light for me to regret my choice of footwear. Harlan's Inns waited there, tapping his fingers against a barrel, guarded by a single man armed with a short axe. Harlan stood abruptly, alert. The lamplight revealed my composed face and Orlando's unmistakable posture of a top-tier warrior. Harlan's pupils constricted. He expected a black market dealer or a family enforcer, not someone with my refined presence. I watched him search his memory for any prominent young nobles in the region, only to come up empty. Lord Harlan's. I spoke first, my voice calm and incongruous with the dingy surroundings. I sat at a rough wooden table with the ease of someone in my own castle's council chamber. Orlando stood behind me, his gaze locked onto Harlan's and his guard like a loyal falcon. Harlan's forced a professional merchant smile, though his eyes remained guarded. You are a stranger to me. What business does a noble have with a humble fur trader? He attempted to seize the initiative, but I didn't let him. Ignoring the probe, I traced the dusty table and looked Harlan's in the eye. I hear that besides fine furs, you possess some, or with, burning potential. I emphasized the word burning ever so slightly. Harlan's smile froze. He forced a laugh. You joke, sir. My family deals in furs and spices. I don't know what burning or you speak of. He instinctively denied it. I offered a cold, knowing smile and glanced at Orlando. Orlando stepped forward and placed a heavy suede pouch on the table with a dull thud. He emptied it, revealing fragments of dark gray or with vein-like red lines that seemed to pulse with faint heat. Harlan's turned pale. His guard instinctively reached for his axe. Simultaneously, Orlando and the knights reached for their concealed blades. The air in the cellar grew suffocatingly tense. Lord Harlan's, I said, breaking the silence with unwavering calm. I come with sincerity, not to cite kingdom law or collect a bounty. I know your situation, the third son of the Inns family, cast aside to this remote island like a defective product because of your mother's status and your own ambitions. You crave wealth, power, and revenge against those who look down on you. Selling burning iron ore is a shortcut to that capital. My words cut right through Harlan's defenses, hitting his deepest insecurities. He breathed heavily, sweat beading on his forehead. I watched as he realized his secrets and ambitions were laid bare before me. "Who are you?" Harlan's asked, his voice trembling with fear and the helplessness of being exposed. "I am Cyril Stewart, Lord of Tania Island," I replied, leaning forward. "What matters is what I can offer you. I will buy your current and future burning iron ore at 70% of the black market price. If the quality remains stable, we can establish a long-term partnership." Harlan's was stunned. My Stewart family was far more prestigious than his own minor ends family. A 70% buyback rate for the long term was a massive opportunity, potentially netting him thousands of gold coins and solving his liquidity crisis. I knew this offer was the lifeline he needed to secure his financial future. "Why do you need so much burning iron ore?" Harlan's asked, his merchant instincts and caution kicking in. Such a large-scale acquisition was clearly for an unusual purpose. My gaze turned icy, chilling the basement air. "Harlan's, you are mistaken about one thing. Our relationship is one of cooperation, not an interrogation. You sell, I buy? My purpose is not for you to question. Do you understand?" Terrified that the deal would be revoked, Harlan's quickly lowered his head. "Forgive me, my lord." I spoke out of turn. I relaxed slightly, offering a second, more tempting bait. "The ore is only the beginning. I have a proposal for a more stable, safe, and lucrative business path." Harlan's looked up, hope rekindled. He desperately wanted to move away from the dangerous or trade. "My territory has a quality mine and a forge," I explained. "We can now produce bronze-rank standard swords, spearheads, and armor components." Harlan's eyes lit up. Bronze-rank weapons were highly sought after by mercenaries and guards. With massive demand from local lords and city garrisons, this was a golden opportunity. "My lord, are you serious? You want me to be your agent?" Harlan's asked, voice shaking. "Yes. I need someone familiar with Iron Bay port with the ambition to expand. You are the right choice." "What about the pricing and profit margins?" Harlan's asked, leaning in eagerly. "A standard bronze-rank sword sells for 50 to 80 gold. I will set a base price of 40 gold. Any profit above that base, we split 70/30ths. You keep 70%. Does that work for you?" Harlan's calculated quickly. He would make at least 10 gold per sword, potentially much more. I watched him realize this was far more profitable and legal than his current illicit trade. The terms were almost too good to be true. Harlan's took a breath to steady himself. "My lord, why be so generous to me?" "Generosity comes with expectations," I said. "I need a stable, expanding sales channel, not small-time peddling. Weapon sales will be your primary, legitimate business. I don't want my partner hanged for smuggling. It would be a disappointment and a nuisance for my territory. Understand?" Harlan's realized this was a leash. I was binding him to a legitimate path while controlling his future. He would still supply, or to me, but his life was now tied to me. It was his greatest chance and a clear warning. Looking at the ore on the table and his own bleak prospects, he knew he had no choice but to accept. Harlan stood and bowed deeply, his voice choked with emotion. "My lord, I, Harlan's ends, swear by my family name to serve you faithfully and keep our dealings secret. I am yours to command." He knew his fate was now inextricably linked to this mysterious young lord. I accepted the gesture with a satisfied nod. "Good. My Night Order commander, Orlando, will handle the details. Remember, discretion is our first rule. Do not disappoint me." "I will not, my lord," Harlan's promised. I and my knights left the tavern, leaving the basement as if nothing had happened. "My lord," Orlando asked on the way home, "were those terms too generous?" Harlan's is an ambitious man. I watched the harbor lights dance across the dark water, thinking about the mess I'd just made. To a starving man, a loaf of bread is a gift. To someone like Harlan's, I didn't give bread, I gave him a bakery. A little profit buys me a loyal dog, a steady income, a strategic supply line, and control over his future. It is a bargain. However, I added, a dog needs a leash. Keep a close watch on him. I want to know every major transaction and every contact he makes. If he stays in line, he will be rewarded. If not, I left the thought unfinished, letting my cold gaze convey the rest. "Understood, my lord," Orlando replied, impressed by my depth. I instructed Orlando to have Captain Zillafu, an expert in smuggling routes and navigation, handle the follow-up talks with Harlan's, and keep a close watch on him. Orlando agreed to the arrangements, and I returned to the mansion with my entourage. Having accomplished much in Iron Bay Port, I planned to rest, visit the slave market tomorrow for laborers, and pay a final visit to Governor Herbert before returning to my territory. The next morning, the daily intelligence updated. 1. A 6th-rank magical beast is leading a herd of unicorn horses to drink at a creek 80 kilometers west of the territory. They will soon depart westward. 2. A dragon has left its nest 300 kilometers north, leaving behind a dragon egg that a group of earth dragons is currently attempting to steal and consume. 3. Liana will soon undergo her second awakening, which requires a massive amount of life energy. 9. A nondescript stone at an old man's stall in the grocery market contains immense life energy. Feeding it to the tree of life will trigger unexpected changes. 10. A grandmaster pharmacist, persecuted by the Kurim Kingdom's Pharmacist Association, has fled to Tania Island. I was thrilled to see the news regarding the grandmaster pharmacist. Pharmacists create potions for cultivation, breakthroughs, and healing. With my supply of silver moon fish, magic crystals, and silver leaf fern seeds, a grandmaster could finally unlock the true potential of these resources. Pharmacists are ranked from apprentice to saint, capable of brewing potions from primary to saint rank. A grandmaster is invaluable, especially since the Stewart family's Eagle territory only possesses 2 pharmacists capable of brewing mid-level potions. The Iron Bay Port Grocery Market was the city's gritty, breathing lung. Located between the docks and the slums, it reeked of salted fish, cheap spices, and rotting wood. Stalls were crammed under patched tarps, creating a chaotic symphony of haggling, crying children, and cartwheels. I moved through the crowd, flanked by Orlando and 2 sharp-eyed holy feather knights who looked ready to draw steel at a sneeze. I scanned the rusted tools, cheap pottery, and dried seafood, eventually narrowing my focus to the stalls selling oddities like roots, bones, and unknown minerals. Following the intelligence I'd gathered, I stopped at a secluded corner. An elderly man with white hair and weathered skin sat behind a stall, wrapped in a tattered robe against the cold sea breeze. His wares, dull ores, charred wood, and insect specimens, weren't exactly flying off the shelves. Among the junk lay a fist-sized, gray-brown stone that looked entirely ordinary. Yet, as I focused, I sensed an endless ocean of life energy sleeping deep within it. The energy pulsed with the slow, powerful rhythm of an ancient god's heartbeat. Its depth far surpassed Liana's natural magic, filling me with awe. Maintaining my composure, I picked up a different or feigned disinterest and set it back down, acting as if I weren't currently vibrating from the sheer magical output. I then gestured to the gray stone, asking casually about its origin. The old man blinked with cloudy eyes, looking confused. He rasped that he had picked it up in a mountain ravine in his hometown because he liked the look of it. He offered it for 5 copper coins, his tone humble and subservient. I was shocked. Such a treasure could incite bloodshed among powerful mages, yet here it was priced at 5 coppers. I hid my surprise and smiled warmly, bridging the gap between noble and commoner. Instead of small change, I handed the man a silver coin worth 100 coppers. I told the man to keep the change, claiming I felt a connection to the stone. The old man trembled, clutching the coin that would sustain him for weeks. Tears welled in his eyes as he protested that it wasn't worth so much. I insisted firmly that it was worth the price. As I picked up the stone, the warm, nourishing energy invigorated my spirit. I tucked the stone away and kindly advised the old man to buy warm food and clothes for the winter. The old man could only nod, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. I then departed with my guards. Orlando and the knights remained silent, accustomed to their master's genuine kindness toward the poor. It was not mere charity, but a deep-seated respect for life. We were just about to track down the Grandmaster Pharmacist when a commotion erupted in a nearby alley, thick with trash and noise. I watched as thugs from the Black Snake Gang cornered a stall owner, shaking him down for protection money. The stall owner, a middle-aged man in a clean but worn scholar's robe, was being shoved by 4 or 5 tattooed thugs. Despite a bleeding lip and pale face, he stubbornly protected his jars and bundles of high-quality herbs. Broken pottery and crushed, Expensive herbs were already scattered across the ground. The man argued with a foreign accent, trembling with a mix of terror and scholarly defiance as he insisted he had already paid his dues. The rules have changed. Pay up, or I'll smash your junk and break your legs, the scarred thug sneered at the vendor. He kicked a basket of carefully prepared herbs, scattering them into the filthy, muddy water. The surrounding crowd watched with a mix of apathy and pity, but no one dared to intervene. Market guards ignored the scene, as these thugs were protected by powerful local interests that commoners dared not cross. I frowned, my eyes turning cold at the sight of such blatant bullying. Orlando stepped forward, tense, and whispered, "Young master, just some local thugs harassing vendors. Shall we?" I nodded, my voice calm and decisive. "Clear them out, but no deaths." "Understood." Orlando signaled 2 knights, and the trio moved into the alley with the efficient, lethal grace of trained soldiers. "Stop!" Orlando's cold command cut through the alley's noise like a blade. The thugs turned, immediately sensing that these men, despite their plain clothes, were elite warriors, not mere civilians. The leader hesitated but blustered. "Who are you? Don't meddle in the Black Snake Gang's business." Before he could finish, Orlando moved like a phantom, grabbing the thug's wrist and twisting it with iron-like force. A sickening crack echoed as the thug collapsed, screaming in agony with a mangled wrist. The 2 Holy Feather Knights struck simultaneously, their precise blows targeting the remaining thug's joints and pressure points. Within seconds, the rest of the gang lay curled on the ground, incapacitated and wailing in pain. The entire encounter lasted less than 10 seconds. I had just witnessed a display of overwhelming, weaponless combat prowess. "Get lost," Orlando said, looking at the thugs with utter disdain. The thugs scrambled away in terror, leaving behind only their mess and a lingering sense of fear. I approached the shaken, middle-aged vendor. The man looked gaunt and malnourished, yet his brown eyes retained a scholar's clarity and focus. I noticed the broken jars containing half-finished, uniquely colored potions, smelling of a true pharmacist's workshop, a mess I'd surely be expected to clean up later. This was almost certainly the Grandmaster Pharmacist from my intelligence report. "Are you all right?" I asked gently, signaling for Avril to step forward. Avril produced a clean linen handkerchief and a small jar of light green ointment. It was a simple salve made from herbs found in my territory, effective for bruises and minor wounds. Grin Minair stared blankly at the young noble who had so easily dismantled his tormentors. He took the items, his hands trembling as he touched the fine cloth and cool porcelain. He looked at my calm, noble face and my formidable guards, filled with disbelief. Why would such a noble help a destitute commoner in a filthy alley? Thank you, my lord," Grin stammered, attempting a clumsy, unpracticed bow. "It was nothing," I said, looking at the ruined herbs with genuine regret. "It is a pity to see such fine work destroyed." I recognized the expert preparation of the herbs, which clearly required immense dedication. Mentioning his life's work made Grin's shoulders slump. I watched him sink into a pool of visible despair. "These were hard to find on Tania Island," Grin sighed. "Some grow in very dangerous, remote areas. And those calming potion samples were nearly finished." His heartbreak was clearly for the craft, not himself. "Are you a pharmacist?" I asked with the respect one shows a scholar. Grin hesitated, then nodded bitterly. "I am Grin Minair. I used to conduct research in the Kurim Kingdom." His vague mention of the past confirmed the intelligence reports I had gathered. I offered a look of understanding, deciding it was best not to press for the painful details. "Mr. Grin," I said solemnly, "these thugs won't let this go. What are your plans? You cannot stay here." Grin looked at his ruined stall and shook his head hopelessly. "I don't know. I suppose I will move to another town and try to start over." His exhaustion and uncertainty betrayed a life of constant displacement. I decided on the spot. "Mr. Grin, I am a lord on Tania Island. My territory is remote, but it is peaceful. We have vast, untapped resources in our mountains and forests, waiting for someone with your expertise." Seeing a flicker of hope in Grin's eyes, I continued, "If you have nowhere else to go, come with me. I cannot promise riches, but I guarantee that in my territory, honest labor and skill are always respected. There, You will face no thugs, no extortion, and no injustice based on your birth. Grin shuddered like he'd been struck by lightning, staring at me in total disbelief. The young lord's words, his kindness, his strength, and his respect for knowledge stood in stark, heavenly contrast to the corrupt, elitist pharmacist association in the Kurim kingdom that had ruined his life. My kindness and respect shattered Grin Miner's defenses. After years of wandering and humiliation, he finally found a place where I could offer him the dignity to focus on alchemy. Grin had been longing for a sanctuary where he could use his life's work to help others while receiving the basic human and academic respect I was providing. My proposal was a beacon of light, illuminating a path Grin had never dared to hope for. He took a deep breath, finally releasing years of pent-up bitterness. Casting aside his hesitation, Grin stepped forward and bowed deeply to me. His voice trembled with emotion as he declared, "My lord, your benevolence and respect for knowledge leave me both ashamed and deeply admiring. I am but a wandering failure, yet if you would have me, I am willing to follow you to your territory. I have nothing but my knowledge of alchemy. It would be my greatest honor to serve you." He knew this was his only chance at hope and was willing to bet everything on this young lord. I smiled warmly, helping Grin up. "You are too modest. Your skills are invaluable. My people and I need a master like you. Welcome." I had secured a future Saint Pharmacist. With my Iron Bay business concluding, I planned to buy slaves, visit Governor Herbert, and return home. It was a remarkably busy itinerary for someone who usually preferred doing absolutely nothing. I dropped 11,000 gold at the slave market today, trading coins for 3,000 men and 1,000 women. My wallet is lighter, but my labor force is finally growing. Next, I stopped by Governor Herbert's office to collect the 40 to 50 skilled craftsmen I'd been pestering him for. With Liana the half-elf, Harlan's trade routes, and Grin the alchemist in tow, I watched my massive caravan snake its way toward my territory. Orlando's Holy Feather Knights took the lead, clearing the path ahead of my carriage and the endless line of supply wagons. Behind us, the 4,000 new arrivals trudged along, gaunt and terrified, under the unblinking gaze of the Holy Feather and Radiant Eagle Knights. I kept the Iron Eagle Knights at the rear, just in case anyone decided to cause trouble. The watchtower horn blared as we approached, signaling our arrival at the new wooden and stone main gate. Knight Commander Raphael and Administrator Eldon were already standing there, ready to receive the lot of us. "Welcome back, young master," Raphael said, stunned by the sheer number of people, nearly 2/3 of the current population. "How is the territory?" I asked. "Everything is well. Crops are growing, walls are reinforced, and the mines are operational," Raphael reported. I nodded and ordered Eldon, "Initiate the emergency plan. Settle these 4,000 people in the new camp. Prioritize temporary shelters, provide hot porridge, and distribute sets of clothing to everyone. The medical team is on standby, assisted by Mr. Grin. Ensure he is well treated." Eldon, though daunted, immediately set to work following my precise plan. I instructed Raphael to increase patrols to maintain order without resorting to unnecessary force. Raphael complied. The territory operated like a well-oiled machine, building shelters and preparing food, a level of efficiency I certainly never managed in my own life before this. The slaves, seeing the organized staff and smelling hot food, felt the first spark of hope. I had Avril settle Liana in the castle, placing great importance on the half-elf girl's inherited memories. After ensuring everyone was settled, I rested, planning to organize the new arrivals the next day. The next morning, the 4,000 slaves gathered in the camp, anxious about their fate. I remained absent, leaving Eldon and several capable officers to address them. Eldon stood on a wooden platform, his voice booming through a megaphone. "New citizens, listen." The crowd went dead silent, staring right at me. "Lord Cyril welcomes you. Here, you can work to earn your freedom and secure your children's future." The crowd erupted in shock and disbelief. Eldon waited for the noise to subside. "I know it sounds impossible, but this is the Lord's law." I laid out the merit system for them. The crowd's eyes lit up as they realized their labor could actually earn them points. Freedom, land, and education, all achievable through their own hard work. Many wept, realizing they weren't destined for a life of misery. A clear, hopeful path lay before them, requiring only honest labor. "Is it true, my lord?" a man shouted, choked with emotion. "Can we really have our own land?" a woman whispered. "Absolutely," Eldon replied. "The old citizens already live by this. The Lord's word is iron." He pointed to the fields and the town. "This land needs you. The Lord has given us a chance. Now it is up to us." "Long live Lord Cyril," someone shouted, and the cry was taken up by thousands. For the territory, for merit, the slaves were ignited with purpose. They looked at the land not with dread, but with a burning desire to build a future for themselves and their families. From the castle balcony, I and Raphael watched the bustling new camp. Raphael remarked, "Young master, your system is transformative. Their enthusiasm is far more effective than any whip." I replied calmly, "Raphael, people should be driven by hope, not fear. We are building a home where everyone sees a future worth fighting for. Once integrated, these 4,000 people will be the foundation of our territory's rise." I continued, "Assign them to reclamation, mining, and construction teams based on their skills. Have our veteran settlers mentor them, and keep an eye out for talent." "Understood, young master." Raphael bowed, his admiration for me reaching new heights. I woke up early, my mind still reeling from the vibrant, chaotic scene I witnessed upon arrival yesterday. Invited to breakfast, I was served simple fare: black bread, local cheese, a boiled egg, and a fragrant herbal tea. One sip left me surprised. "This tea," I smiled. "Liana, our half-elf, brewed it from local herbs. She claims the local flora has exceptional vitality." I savored the mild medicinal effect, my curiosity about the half-elf growing alongside my respect for the land's potential. After breakfast, I offered, "If you aren't tired, let me show you the true state of this land." Grin eagerly agreed. We set out on foot, accompanied only by Orlando and 2 guards. We arrived at the camp, now a scene of orderly activity as officials registered the thousands of new arrivals. There were no whips or shouting, only clear instructions and patience. A scarred man struggled to write his name, and a clerk patiently guided his hand instead of mocking him. A mother received light laundry duties, smiling in relief, while youths joined the carpentry workshop as apprentices. Grin noticed the dull, hopeless eyes of yesterday were now bright with anticipation for the merit system's rewards. "Do they really believe in the merit system?" Grin asked. I replied, "Doubt fades when they see others earn land, homes, and education through labor. Hope is the best guide for the human heart." We walked through lush, dew-kissed wheat fields where veteran settlers tended the crops. Seeing me, the settlers stood tall, smiling and saluting me with genuine respect. Greetings echoed around us, filled with warmth rather than fear. An elderly farmer approached, shyly holding some plants. "My lord, I found these in the fields and didn't dare pull them." I handed them to Grin. "What do you think, Mr. Grin?" Grin identified them, rush and lavender. Unusual to see them together, but both are useful medicinal herbs. I told the farmer, "Well done. These are medicinal. Mark such plants in the future. Discoverers will earn merit points." The farmer left overjoyed. I could see Grin was deeply moved. A lord who understood agriculture, recognized herbs, and encouraged his people to utilize nature was unlike any noble he had ever known. We toured the workshops, where I watched blacksmiths forge tools and apprentices learn joinery. Tanners processed leather for armor and boots, all working under my watch with high efficiency. Finally, we stood on the reinforced outer walls, and I looked out over the growing town and vast, green fields. In the distance, the mines and forests framed the thriving territory. Sunlight bathed the landscape as Grin stared in silence. He was no longer the desperate man hiding in the alleys of Iron Bay Port. Breathing in the fresh air, he felt a profound sense of renewal. "Mr. Grin," I asked, "what do you think of this land now?" Grin bowed deeply, his eyes wet with emotion. "My apologies for my previous short-sightedness. You are not just a kind lord, but a builder of dreams. This order and vitality are no accident. It is a testament to your wisdom. It is my greatest honor to be here." I helped him up. "Your praise is an honor. But this land needs people like you to help shape its future." My expression turned serious. "What do you think is the foundation of a prosperous territory?" Grin pondered. A strong army? Full granaries? Or perhaps your wise leadership? Those are the pillars. I nodded, my tone deepening. But the true foundation is the key that allows the talented to break limits and the weak to find strength. A barrier against disease and hardship for my people. I gestured to the soldiers and farmers. A knight's career, a mage's potential, or a family's survival. These are often lost to injury or plague. No amount of grain or steel can replace such losses. I watched Grin's heart race as he finally grasped the depth of my vision. I looked at him intensely. The answer lies in the hands of masters like you. Alchemy. It is not just medicine. It is a catalyst for power and a guardian of life. Imagine, Mr. Grin. A top-tier life potion could return a dying warrior to the front lines or allow a crippled craftsman to work again. Advanced mana potions can help knights break through bottlenecks, producing more grand knights and powerful elites. Elemental affinity potions could turn a mediocre youth into a mage. Not to mention legendary potions that strengthen bodies, accelerate battle aura, purify mana, or extend life. Grin trembled. This was the ultimate meaning of alchemy, a power to change destinies, not just a noble luxury. Yet, I said grimly, this power is monopolized by corrupt churches and nobles to hoard wealth and privilege, suppressing common geniuses and hiding innovations. I looked at Grin with burning trust. I will build a new alchemy academy here, a beacon of hope, not a fortress of monopoly. A cradle for true grandmaster pharmacists to break monopolies and let alchemy's light shine on all. This academy needs a guide, I said firmly. Someone with supreme skill, the courage to defy convention, and a benevolent heart. Grin, you know the pain of monopoly. I invite you to be the first dean of the Orloff Territory Alchemy Academy. Let's start a new era. Dean, a new era. Grin was stunned by the vision. This was a great mission. I outlined the plan. The academy will be open to all territory youths. You select those with talent and character, regardless of status. The territory covers all costs. Graduates will pledge lifelong service to the territory, using their skills to repay the land. You have full authority over curriculum and research. I will build you the most advanced laboratory. I will also allocate the best land for your private herb gardens. I added the final incentive. The territory will provide magic crystals, and we have discovered silver moon fish rich in moonlight energy. With our rare silver leaf fern seeds and your skills, you can attempt the advanced mana potion formula. This is just the beginning. We will eventually challenge Saint rank potions. Silver moon fish, silver leaf fern, advanced mana potions. Each word hit me like a hammer, opening the door to the pinnacle of alchemy. All of my past hesitation and inferiority vanished. My eyes burned with unprecedented fire. I stepped back, knelt on one knee, and pressed my fist to my heart, a knight's oath of loyalty. Young Master Cyril, Grin said with steel-like resolve, your vision is inspiring. I, Grin Minair, swear to dedicate my life and wisdom to the Alchemy Academy. I will not fail you. I will cultivate talent and conquer alchemical challenges. May the light of alchemy shine on your territory forever. I swear this by the stars. I helped him up, and the two pioneers shook hands firmly. I believe in you, Dean Grin. Let us create an unrepeatable legend for this land. Days later, the announcement of the Orloff Territory Alchemy Academy and the free training program sent the territory into a frenzy. It meant their descendants had a chance to touch power and miracles. Grin threw himself into his new mission. Grin knew he held the foundation and edge of the territory's future. The next morning, I woke to check the daily intelligence. 1. A herd of unicorn horses has appeared in the northern woods for a week-long rest. 2. Your people are plotting to form the Cyril Society to pray for their lord's greatness daily. 10. Avril is about to awaken. Taking her to the Lake of Life will trigger unexpected changes. I chuckled at my adorable subjects and pondered when to take Liana to the Lake of Life, assuming the lake didn't decide to drown me for the inconvenience. Suddenly, Avril knocked, sounding urgent. Young Master Cyril, Liana, she. I stood up, opening the door to a sweating, anxious Avril. What happened to Liana? Avril stammered. Miss Liana is in a bad state. Green light is erupting in her room. She's floating, and plants are growing wildly. She looks like she's in pain. as if she's about to be torn apart by the power. My expression shifted. I realized this was her second awakening. Without guidance, I knew such an explosive bloodline awakening could backfire, with disastrous consequences. Where is she? In her room. I sprinted toward Liana's room, Orlando trailing behind me. A tide of life energy surged from the door as I approached. Inside, I saw Liana hovering half a meter off the ground, eyes closed, face twisted in pain, wrapped in emerald light. Grass sprouted from the floorboards, vines covered the walls, flowers blooming and wilting in a chaotic cycle. Young master, the energy is too violent. Orlando reached for his sword, unsure how to help. I saw Liana's energy ballooning. The room's ambient life energy was insufficient. She would be torn apart. We must take her to the Lake of Life. I ordered. Orlando, get that mysterious stone. The stone from Iron Bay port contained massive life energy that might save her. Avril, follow me. I plunged into the energy field, enduring the stinging pain to scoop up the semi-conscious Liana. The girl's body was burning hot, trembling in my arms. Hold on, Liana. I'll get you to safety, I whispered, then urged Orlando. Move. Orlando led the way with the mysterious stone. I carried Liana toward the forbidden forest behind the castle, with a worried Avril close behind. Deep in the forest, the Lake of Life shimmered in the moonlight. Its emerald waters pulsed with life, and a warm glow emanated from the center, the resting place of the stone. By the lake, Liana's body reacted violently. Her green aura flickered, frantically absorbing life energy, yet it remained insufficient. We must enter the lake. I stepped into the water with her. As they entered, the cold water came alive. Liana's chaotic energy resonated with the dormant power deep within the lake. Ripples spread from the center, pulling the mysterious stone toward the tree of life. The stone's crust flaked off, showing a glowing emerald core that started pulsing like a waking heart. Not enough. I felt Liana's insatiable need for energy and waded toward the tree of life at the lake's heart. As I neared the stone, a massive surge erupted. Boom! The entire lake boiled, launching thousands of emerald beams into the night sky. The stone awakened and transformed into a streak of light. It didn't shoot at Liana, but straight into the young tree of life on the island. The light merged with the sapling. It grew instantly, its bark turning ancient and rugged as if I had just watched centuries pass in a heartbeat. Roots delved deep into the earth, drinking the stone's essence. The canopy expanded, lush and vibrant, pulsing with liquid green light. The tree of life matured into a giant. A massive, gentle pillar of light erupted from the lake, illuminating the forest like daylight. Within the light, elven-like runes swirled and faded. A pure, maternal life force flowed from the tree back into Liana. Water lilies bloomed, trees sprouted, and glowing flowers appeared on vines throughout the forest. Countless light motes danced around the pillar, celebrating the birth of a child of nature. The fragrance revitalized Orlando, Avril, and the knights, healing their fatigue and minor wounds. The life energy washed over Liana and me, purging impurities and dissolving them into nothingness. Liana's bones hardened, her blood shimmered with green light, and her organs underwent a fundamental transformation. Her skin became translucent and radiant. Natural runes formed beneath her skin and upon her bones, guided by the tree's power. These runes embodied the laws of growth, rebirth, healing, and nature. Liana's consciousness expanded, connecting with the forest, the tree, and the earth. She heard the plants growing and felt the water veins, becoming a vital node in the natural network. A permanent, intricate mark, the heart of nature, stabilized on her forehead, radiating ancient nobility. Her half-elf bloodline had fully awakened. High above, the matured tree bore heart-shaped, honey-glowing fruit of life. These fruits, condensed from the tree's essence, were priceless treasures of immense healing power. After an hour, the light faded. The forest was quiet, but its vitality had increased tenfold. Liana drifted onto the water's surface, her eyes reflecting the seasons of the forest. She felt a profound connection to her surroundings, filled with newfound strength. I also benefited. The residual life force washed over me, elevating my talent from mediocre to that of a genius. Liana approached me and performed an elegant elven bow. Master Cyril, thank you for your protection. The heart of nature shall always stand with your territory. I looked at the transformed Liana and the towering tree, stunned and joyful. It's a strange day when your own garden starts outgrowing the property line. I realized this awakening provided me with a powerful new trump card. Liana, how do you feel? Any discomfort? I asked. I feel fine, Master Cyril, she replied gently. I just have a vast amount of energy to master. Any other changes? I asked, noticing her appearance was now more ethereal. Liana looked at her hands. They were fair and slender, with a faint emerald glow beneath the skin. She touched her ears. They were now perfectly pointed and crystalline, looking like carved jade. She looked at her reflection in the lake. Her beauty was flawless, her dark green hair cascading like a waterfall. Her eyes were like pure forest lakes, deep and wise, harmonizing with the nature around her. The subtle sense of being a half-elf outsider had vanished completely. Liana closed her eyes, sensing the magic within. She opened them, a flicker of light in her gaze, and raised a hand. A red flame danced on her fingertip, followed by a chilling frost that crystallized the air. Finally, a sphere of vibrant green life energy appeared. She turned to me, smiling with newfound clarity. Master Cyril, I feel complete. She touched her pointed ear. The immense life essence has purified my bloodline, fully activating my elven heritage and suppressing my human traits. I am no longer a half-elf. Feeling a profound connection to the forest and moonlight, I, Liana, am now a true wood elf, heir to an ancient natural legacy. I observed the magic in her hands and asked, Then, you are? She dissipated the energy, explaining, The purification made me a mage. Beyond a stable mana source, I have awakened the heart of nature, talent inherent to my bloodline. Pointing to the golden mark on her forehead, she added, With heart of nature, my affinity and comprehension for life and plant magic are unparalleled. As a complete elven mage, I also possess the foundation to master other elemental spells. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. I see complete spell models in my mind, from healing to combat. I can grow through meditation and spellcasting, just like human mages. The mage hierarchy, apprentice, mage, grand mage, Saint Magus, mirrors the 9 stages of a knight. She looked at me with deep gratitude. Cyril, you gave me this. Without you, I would have remained lost, never awakening my true potential. I vow to use this new strength to protect you and this land where the tree of life takes root. I felt a surge of joy and anticipation, my heart stirring like the waters of the lake of life. A true elven mage is invaluable, a powerful combatant, and the cornerstone of my territory's magical development. Let's return, I said, suppressing my excitement. Liana needs time to consolidate her new power. Dawn broke, and the territory felt alive again. Whatever madness haunted the night had finally cleared out. I was busy drowning in irrigation reports when I heard footsteps so light they were practically ghosts. They were soft enough to tread on moss without a sound, but my mental perception caught them anyway. I guess my brain refuses to clock out. Liana appeared in the doorway. Overnight, she'd undergone a transformation that made my previous assessment look like a joke. Her radiance had shifted. It wasn't just on the surface anymore. It had settled into a bone-deep elegance that was honestly a bit intimidating. She walked with a rhythm that matched the forest perfectly. Her dark green hair shimmered like a star-filled night. Tiny, rune-like light particles flickered within her hair every time she moved. Her pointed ears were perfectly sculpted, translucent, and pulsed with a faint, inner life glow. Her skin possessed a jade-like luster, reminiscent of concentrated moonlight. Her emerald eyes were like deep, ancient forest lakes, holding wisdom that brought peace to any observer. Good morning, Master Cyril, she said, bowing with an elegant, ancient elven grace. Her voice was ethereal and magnetic. I marveled at the beauty of her evolution, but remained focused on the practicalities. Liana, you have integrated well. How do you feel? Is your power stable? Any new perceptions? Liana gestured, leaving trails of emerald light, a sign of her high resonance with nature. I feel wonderful, Master. My mana source is deep, as if connected to the forest's own breath. Furthermore, once my soul stabilized, A complete legacy emerged in my mind. The scripture of nature. I leaned forward, my gaze sharpening. The scripture of nature? Yes, Liana replied solemnly. It is branded into my soul, a final unlocking of my bloodline memory. It contains systematic magic knowledge from the 1st to the 9th tier. It covers elemental, life, and nature magic, plus secret elven arts I've never heard of. She added regretfully, currently, I can only access tiers 1 through 5, plus minor 6-tier spells like large-scale barriers. Anything above tier 6 is sealed by my soul, requiring higher mastery to unlock. My heart raced. I had stumbled onto a systematic path to the peak of magic, a legacy capable of founding an empire. I held a map to the pinnacle of magical civilization. My territory's future just became limitless. Yet, I tempered my joy with a healthy dose of caution. I walked to the window, my expression grave. Liana, you must understand the implications. A century ago, all pure-blooded elves vanished from the continent overnight. It remains an unsolved mystery. Current half-elves have diluted blood and limited talent. None have ever reverted to a pure-blooded form, let alone awakened such a complete legacy. I turned, staring intensely at her. Your transformation is no ordinary awakening. Your origins likely involve the secret of the elves' disappearance and the dangers that come with it. This power is a gift, but also a double-edged sword that could invite unforeseen peril. Liana met my gaze, her eyes filled with honesty and confusion. I don't know, Master. My memories of my parents are vague. My mother was a wandering half-elf bard who left when I was young. I have no memory of my father. I have no idea why I changed or why I possessed the scripture of nature. It simply feels like a part of me that was finally awakened. Seeing her confusion, I knew further questioning was futile. I took a breath and decided, until you are strong enough to face potential threats, your identity as a pure-blooded elf must remain hidden. You are too conspicuous. You would be like a beacon in the night. Liana nodded, understanding. Master, this scripture of nature contains a high-level, natural camouflage technique that can mask my form and energy signature. She closed her eyes, channeling her natural mana, and I watched a soft, water-like green glow ripple across her body. Under the strange light, her perfect features softened until she resembled her former half-elf appearance, and I saw her pointed ears visibly retract. Her skin's unnatural glow faded to a normal, fair complexion, and the starlight in her hair vanished. Most importantly, she suppressed her intense natural aura, leaving only a faint, serene presence that I could only detect at close range. As the light dissipated, the familiar half-elf girl, Liana, stood before me. Yet, deep in her eyes, I still saw an unshakable composure and a glimmer of profound wisdom. Excellent. It's nearly flawless, I said, relieved. This will best ensure your safety. I pondered, then assigned her a new task. Liana, our territory's strength cannot rely on just a few. Magic is key to our future. With your inheritance, I want you to plant the seeds of magic. We shouldn't establish an academy publicly yet. It would draw too much attention. Observe and screen our people and new arrivals for children with high affinity for magic, strong mental power, or aptitude for meditation. Secretly guide them to form a core group of loyal mages. Also, focus on your own cultivation without overexerting yourself. I understand, young master. I will proceed with caution, Liana replied solemnly. Just as I envisioned a future academy, a project that would surely drain my remaining patience. Avril entered the study with a tray of tea and refreshments. She moved with her usual elegant, silent grace, placing the tea by my side. As she approached, Liana's heightened senses detected a ripple, and her green eyes flashed with surprise. Liana sensed a faint, pure, and vibrant spiritual field naturally surrounding Avril. This talent was innate, like an unpolished gem, resonating subtly with the wind and water elements in the air. Its purity and strength far exceeded anyone else in the territory, including the young knights. Liana glanced at me, silently conveying her discovery. I caught her look, sharp as ever, and turned my gaze toward my quiet, loyal maid. Could my trusted companion, who had cared for me since childhood, actually harbor such hidden magical talent? This discovery changed everything. solidifying my plan to cultivate a secret, loyal team of mages. It also gave me a foundation for uncovering Liana's origins and the truth behind the disappearance of the elven race. As Avril finished tidying up, I called out to her. Avril, wait a moment. Avril stopped and bowed respectfully. Young master, do you have further instructions? I studied her. It was hard to reconcile her ordinary appearance with Liana's report, but I trusted Liana implicitly. Avril, I said gently but firmly, beyond your daily duties, you have a new, more important task. Avril looked puzzled but waited quietly. I nodded to Liana, who stepped forward and smiled encouragingly. Avril, relax and feel. Liana extended her finger, gathering faint, shimmering particles of wind and water elements. As the particles appeared, Avril trembled slightly. Her blue eyes widened with instinctive curiosity as she felt the air around her become vibrant and refreshing, a sensation I usually only get when I actually remember to open a window. It was a subtle sensation she would never have noticed without Liana's guidance. Do you feel it? Liana asked. You have a natural affinity for wind and water. It is a rare gift. Avril stared at the light particles in disbelief. Young master, Miss Liana, are you saying I can learn magic? Her voice trembled. Magic was a power she thought existed only in bardic tales. You have the potential, I affirmed. Avril, you are one of my most trusted people. The territory needs magic. Liana will guide you. It will be difficult, but are you willing to try? Avril took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. She bowed deeply. It is my honor to contribute more to you in the territory. I am willing to learn. Liana beamed, taking Avril's hand with a warm, friendly gesture. I watched as Avril felt a surge of comforting life energy from Liana's touch. That's wonderful, Avril. Liana said, her eyes crescent-shaped with joy. I'm so happy we can explore magic together. Let's go find a quiet place to start your first lesson. Liana's tone was lively, turning the prospect of training into a pleasant adventure. Avril's nervousness faded, replaced by a budding sense of anticipation. I gave a nod, and she allowed Liana to lead her out of the study. Liana chatted as they walked. There's a quiet spot by the stream behind the castle. It's perfect for our first lesson. As they disappeared down the hall, the faint sound of Liana's explanations and Avril's surprised exclamations lingered. I watched them go, a gentle smile touching my lips. I then took Orlando to the lake of life behind the castle, which had undergone massive changes overnight. Upon arriving, I saw that the lake of life had expanded significantly, nourished by the surge of life energy. The lake has expanded several times over, its vast, shimmering surface now stretching beyond the horizon, encompassing more spirit-rich land. The water has transformed into a translucent, liquid emerald, remarkably pure and free of impurities. A veil of concentrated life energy mist hovers over the lake, refracting sunlight into dreamlike, iridescent halos during dawn and dusk. Unique magical flora, such as glowing moonlight lotuses and sapphire-leafed ice crystal grass, have begun to sprout naturally. Rare silver moon fish thrive here, breeding rapidly and developing clearer, more potent lunar patterns on their scales. I observed the tree of life at the center. The island has grown significantly, leaving ample space around the ancient tree. The original sapling is now a towering giant, its bronze bark etched with mysterious natural patterns that seem to record the secrets of time. Its massive canopy shades the entire island, acting as a powerful, perpetual source of life energy. The roots continuously infuse the soil and water with pure energy, improving the castle's ecosystem and expanding its influence. The canopy absorbs solar and lunar essence, releasing refined life energy that creates a high-concentration aura zone. Dozens of heart-shaped fruit of life, resembling polished emeralds with a honey-like luster, hang from the branches, emitting an intoxicating fragrance. These priceless fruits contain immense life essence, capable of curing fatal wounds or serving as the ultimate ingredient for top-tier potions. I felt a surge of excitement looking at the vibrant, mist-shrouded lake and the majestic ancient tree. Scanning the revitalized land around the shore, a clear plan formed in my mind. Orlando, I said with decisive calm, the lake is our territory's greatest asset. It must be utilized wisely and kept strictly secret. Understood, young master. The restricted area guards have been tripled, staffed by the most loyal Holy Feather Knights, Orlando replied solemnly. I pointed to the shore near the castle. I want to build meditation chambers there, following the terrain. I kept my requirements simple. Functional structures made from local stone and wood to ensure they stayed hidden. These will be rewards for those who contribute significantly to the territory, knights, craftsmen, or talented individuals, granting them access via tokens. Training here will accelerate battle aura cultivation, healing, and breakthroughs. Orlando realized the strategic value. Brilliant, young master. This will not only strengthen our core forces, but also serve as a supreme honor to inspire loyalty. I nodded, my gaze shifting back to the mist-covered island and the Tree of Life. That, I said with gravity, is the core of the core, a sanctuary within a sanctuary. I issued my most important order. I want a residence and training ground built on the island, right next to the Tree of Life. It will be for Liana and the others to reside, study nature magic, and guide Avril. The style must be natural, ancient, and mysterious. Understood. I will select the most reliable personnel and prioritize this project above all else, Orlando vowed. Standing by the lake, I and Orlando took in the serene, life-pulsing sight of the ancient tree reflected in the vast, shimmering water. I spoke with a magnetic, steady voice. Orlando, look at this lake. It breathes, grows, and heals. It is more than a container of life. It is the source of all beginnings and destiny. I paused, then declared, from this day forward, this place shall be named the Origin Land. The Origin Land, Orlando whispered, savoring the weight of the name. Origin signifies the root, I explained, gesturing to the tree. It is the source of our territory's vitality, power, and future glory. Life represents vitality and creation, I continued, pointing to the fish and flora. It is a hotbed for miracles, where wounds heal and new knowledge germinates. Land implies gathering and concealment, I added. The essence of heaven and earth, life, and fate are all hidden here, waiting to be awakened. I looked at Orlando with high expectations. I want that Origin Land to be the true foundation of our territory. Knights will refine their battle aura, sages will find clarity, and the wounded will recover. It will be the fountainhead of our strength. My tone was firm. We must protect this divine gift. It will be our secret treasure today, and a legendary sight that commands awe and envy in the future. Inspired, Orlando struck his breastplate. By your will, young master. The Holy Feather Knights swear to protect the Origin Land with our swords and our blood. We shall guard this path to glory you have paved. I nodded, my ambition clear. I would anchor my territory's foundation here, allowing it to grow into a towering force. The source is open. Now, the dragon must rise to spread this power across the wider world. On my way back, I found Liana in the garden, obsessively checking the life fluctuations of a newly transplanted silverleaf grass. Liana, I said gently, I am building a residence for you on the island. It will be your home, your laboratory, and your sanctuary for teaching Avril and studying magic. Liana looked up, her green eyes wide with disbelief. She knew the sanctity of the island and felt its natural energy calling to her. She never imagined I would grant her such a place. Young master, she stammered, overwhelmed. That is too precious. I smiled, cutting her off. It is precious, which is why it must be used well. Your nature magic resonates with that place. You will grow faster there. You need a place to study and teach undisturbed. This sanctuary will be the starting point of our territory's magical path, and you are the one to ignite that flame. Liana gazed at me, moved by my unwavering trust and support, realizing that the warm, mother-like core of the lake would become her future home and path of cultivation. Overwhelmed by gratitude and happiness, Liana's eyes welled with tears that traced paths down her cheeks, tasting sweet as they fell. She curtsied in an ancient elven style, her voice choked but firm. Master Cyril, thank you for everything, my new life, your trust, and this home. I don't know how to repay you. I swear to protect this territory, Master Magic, and train apprentices, ensuring the light of nature's law illuminates your path. This sanctuary shall be my eternal commitment. Seeing her resolve, I knew my decision was correct. After bidding Liana farewell, I returned to my study, my expression shifting from warmth to professional gravity. The territory's prosperity required massive, ongoing capital investment. My recent trip to Iron Bay Port had halved my gold reserves. Increasing revenue was urgent, and my deal with Harlan's Inns was the key, a realization that made my own wallet feel significantly lighter. Summon Zillifu, I ordered my attendant. Soon, the heavy, rhythmic footsteps of the stout dwarf master blacksmith echoed as he entered the study. Zillifu arrived directly from the workshop, wearing a soot-stained leather apron and smelling of furnace fire and metal. Despite his hurried appearance and braided beard, the dwarf's eyes were sharp and shrewd, reflecting his expertise and intensity. "My lord, you summoned me?" Zillifu asked, bowing with a booming voice. "Sit, Zillifu," I said. "I need precise production data from the mines and workshops to anchor our trade." Zillifu grew serious, pulling a worn piece of parchment from his pocket covered in detailed charcoal notes. "First, the mines," Zillifu reported. "With the new labor and improved techniques, we produce about 250,000 caddies of iron ore monthly. After smelting, we yield 85,000 caddies of high-quality pig iron. Magic crystal production is stable at 500 caddies, kept under strict guard, as you requested." I nodded. This was sufficient for large-scale construction and armaments. "As for the workshops," Zillifu said proudly, "we produce 520 pieces of bronze rank standard gear monthly. Swords, axes, spears, and armor, all superior to market standards. Silver rank items are more complex. We produce 130 pieces monthly, crafted by 22 dwarves and our local smiths. 10 senior smiths handle gold rank equipment, producing over 30 pieces per month. Platinum grade," Zillifu added gravely, "requires rare materials and extreme focus. Only I can forge them, and output is unstable. 2 or 3 pieces a month is the limit." I calculated the figures rapidly. 520 bronze rank items. That's a steady, substantial income, provided my agreement with Harlan's actually holds up. Silver and gold gear will bring in the high-end buyers, but I know better than to sell platinum items for mere gold. Those are for strategic trades and buying powerful allies. The data is clear. "Thank you, Zillifu," I affirmed. "Focus on stabilizing bronze and silver production for trade. Maintain current gold output. Prioritize platinum gear for Raphael, Orlando, and our core members. If there is spare capacity, forge 1 or 2 as strategic reserves, but do not force it." "Understood." Zillifu struck his chest. "With sufficient materials and labor, we'll show those merchants the true strength of our territory. The current output keeps the wolves from the door, but I'm already looking past the immediate financial pressure." "Zillifu," I said, looking at the dwarf intently, "your skills are invaluable, but relying solely on your current strength has its limits. To ensure our long-term development and legacy, I have decided to establish a blacksmith academy." Zillifu blinked, twisting his red beard in confusion and surprise. In his culture, smithing was a secret passed down through masters and apprentices, never an academic institution. "It is not to replace your traditions, but to systematize them," I explained firmly. "We will recruit youths from across the territory, human, dwarf, or otherwise, who show talent and passion. You, Master Zillifu, will be the first dean, teaching your core, shareable knowledge to train a new generation." I pointed toward the workshop smoke. "Imagine, Zillifu, our academy will produce not just standard weapons, but future masters, grandmasters, and perhaps even legendary artisans. We will make the Orloff territory a name known across the Erathia continent. This requires a cradle for talent." Zillifu's breathing grew heavy as he grasped the vision. He had only intended to repay his debt, but this offered him a legacy. To be the founder of a school, binding his name to the glory of the territory. It was an honor no master could refuse. He stood up, his beard bristling with excitement. "My lord, your vision is unparalleled. I am honored you trust an old dwarf with such a task. As long as I draw breath, I will make this academy thrive. I will distill my life's work into a curriculum and train the finest smiths to make our blades ring across the continent. I smiled at the dwarf's enthusiasm. Excellent. We will discuss the logistics, location, and recruitment standards later. For now, go tell your kin and start planning your curriculum. Yes, my lord. Zillifu saluted and practically ran out, his heavy footsteps sounding joyful. After Zillifu left, I summoned the administrator, Eldon. Eldon arrived promptly with documents in hand. You summoned me, Master Cyril? Eldon, I have an important decision. I am establishing a blacksmith academy, with Master Zillifu as the dean. Eldon looked surprised, then nodded in approval, recognizing the importance of the industry and the need for a skilled workforce. Draft a public notice immediately, I ordered. State that the academy is open to all residents, free of charge, for youths with talent and interest. We will recruit 50 students for the first batch, subject to Zillifu's strict selection process. Students' expenses will be covered by the territory, but they must sign a contract to serve the territory upon graduation. We also encourage local craftsmen and willing dwarves from the Zillifu clan to join the faculty. Understood, young master, Eldon replied. This is thrilling news. It will boost our forging strength and provide a bright path for our commoners. I will draft the announcement and begin planning the academy's location and construction immediately. I place great importance on the academy, believing that the territory's future depends entirely on cultivating such talent. Consequently, the academy will report directly to me, bypassing other administrative departments. I had just finished my discussion with Zillifu regarding the blacksmith academy. Young master, a Mr. Harlan's is here to see you. A servant reported from outside the study. Show him in. I set down my quill. I had been planning to discuss trade with Harlan's anyway, so the timing was perfect. Yes, young master, the servant replied. Soon, the servant escorted Harlan's into the study, where I was ready to receive him. Harlan's wore a decent dark blue noble suit, his hair meticulously groomed. Despite his family's disdain, he maintained his aristocratic dignity. Facing me, Harlan's said respectfully, Thank you for seeing me, Lord Cyril. I nodded. Sit, Harlan's. You look quite different from when we met at the tavern. You've come at the right time. I wanted to discuss our trade deal. Harlan's sat up straight, eager to hear more. I asked directly, How did your initial trade with Zillifu go? Harlan's replied excitedly, Lord Cyril, the bronze rank weapons you provided, both the sharpness of the swords and the durability of the armor, far exceed anything else on the market. I've contacted several sea merchants and mercenary groups. They were very impressed, and the preliminary orders exceed 200 pieces. Based on our agreed terms, this first batch will net the territory over 8,000 gold coins in gross profit. This figure stunned Harlan's, as it surpassed the total profits from his previous illicit dealings. He finally saw a path to success. I nodded in approval. Well done. Quality is paramount, as our dwarf masters can attest. Now, finalize these orders and gradually introduce silver rank samples to high-end clients. Remember, steady progress and reputation first. I added, Furthermore, my territory requires broader trade routes to support future growth. Yes, Lord Cyril, I understand, Harlan's replied. Harlan's, small-scale weapon trades are a temporary fix, not a long-term solution, I said, gazing at a map. We need a stable, massive system to support the territory. Harlan's focused intently, sensing a major shift. I turned, my gaze sharp. I am establishing an official trade organization, the Lingqi Chamber of Commerce. Pointing to the map, I continued. We must strengthen trade with neighboring lords. Beyond weapons, we will sell basic mana potions, life potions, and more. Secondly, we must expand beyond the island. I traced the Tania Kingdom's coastline. The coastal provinces like Naples and Bor are hubs of information and trade. We must establish branches there as our gateway to the kingdom and beyond. I will have Shiloah discuss the formation of trade caravans and fleets with you. I noted that the legendary captain's knowledge of smuggling routes would be an asset. Harlan's looked overwhelmed. The scale of my plan was far greater than he had imagined. As for the northern barbarian kingdom, I pointed to the cold, vast region. The environment is harsh, but it is rich in furs, magical beast materials, and unique ores. They lack quality weapons, warm textiles, and stable food. It is a high-risk, high-reward route. We will start by sending small caravans with select goods to scout the path. I considered the personnel. While Harlan's was respectful, I didn't yet trust him to lead the entire operation. I announced, Shilua will serve as president of the Lingqi Chamber of Commerce, with you as vice president. Zilifu will manage internal operations, you will handle external trade, and I will assign knights as guards. Vice president. Harlan's heart raced. This was a position of true trust. He pressed his hand to his chest and vowed, My lord, Harlan's ends will not fail you. Wherever the Lingqi flag flies, it shall bring wealth and glory to the territory. I nodded and summoned Shilua, Eldon, and Raphael. The servant left, and soon, Shilua and the others arrived. I looked at Shilua. Shilua, I am forming the Lingqi Chamber of Commerce. I need a president who knows the trade routes, understands the factions, and has the courage to break new ground. I believe you are the best choice. Shilua's eyes lit up. He stood tall and replied, My lord, you have protected me, and now you grant me this responsibility. I am deeply grateful. He asked, What goods shall we trade, and where? We will trade our high-quality weapons, food, materials, and potions, I said, pointing to the map. The goal is to open routes to the 3 coastal provinces, Naples, Bor, and Lucy, and explore the northern barbarian kingdom. I know you are familiar with both official and certain hidden routes. At the mention of hidden routes, a wild, knowing smile touched Shilua's lips. He knew exactly which smuggling paths could bypass heavy taxes. Rest assured, Lord Cyril, Shilua said firmly. I know the waterways, the docks, and which officials can be dealt with in the coastal provinces. The north is dangerous, but not impassable. I accept this position. I will plant the Lingqi flag across the continent. After encouraging them, I returned to my duties. The next day, the daily intelligence arrived. Today's intelligence updated 20 kilometers north of the territory's northern mine. There are rich underground mineral resources. I studied the report, knowing that with this intelligence, the territory would gain endless resources and develop rapidly. Excellent, I said, pleased with Shilua's confidence. Harlan's will be your vice president. He excels in negotiation and knows the noble circles well. You will complement each other, but you have the final say. I then turned to Raphael. Raphael, the guard is vital. I need you to select 5 elite knights, 20 official knights, and 50 apprentice knights from the Radiant Eagle Knights to form the core of the caravan guard. They will report to the chamber but remain under your command. Do you have a recommendation for the captain? Raphael thought for a moment. Young master, I recommend Carl, an elite knight under Commander Rain. He is steady, experienced in clearing magical beasts near the mines, skilled in wilderness combat, and absolutely loyal. Agreed. Appoint Carl as the guard captain, I decided. Discuss the scale and equipment requirements with Shilua, Harlan's, and Raphael. I instructed Eldon to coordinate territorial resources, ensuring workshop output met the Chamber of Commerce's needs, and securing initial funding and supplies. Understood, young master, Eldon replied. I urged the group to finalize the chamber's details immediately, emphasizing the urgency of its establishment. Everyone responded in unison. Understood, young Master Cyril. With new policies enacted and no external threats, the Orloff territory entered a phase of rapid, transformative development. 2 years of development had passed. In the morning sun, Eldon placed a leather-bound volume, 2-year development record, on my desk with visible pride. Young master, this record reflects 2 years of progress, Eldon said, his voice trembling with excitement. Every figure represents the hard work of our people. I touched the gilded title, recognizing the document as an epic written by thousands. After 2 years, the Orloff territory had undergone a complete metamorphosis from its initial, underdeveloped state. I had consistently acquired slaves and attracted outsiders. The population now reached 35,800, including newborns. Thanks to the merit system, most former slaves had earned their freedom, leaving only about 1,000 still in servitude. The territory now featured several towns, centered around Shiguang Town, 11,200 residents, 120 square kilometers, which served as the hub for agriculture and administration. Cultivated land spanned 18,000 mu with 8,000 tons of annual crop yield. 12 magic plants were being grown, 7 of which were stable enough for Alchemy Academy research. Huisher Town is my biggest headache and my greatest asset. 300 square kilometers, 8,000 residents, and a nonstop grind of mining and industry. I oversee a monthly output of 280,000 gene of iron ore, which my dwarves refine into 85,000 gene of high-quality pig iron, plus a steady 600 gene of magic crystal. Then there is Bishi Town, my coastal port with 10,000 permanent residents and a chaotic flow of 20,000 to 30,000 transients passing through for trade. Eldon confirmed that I have successfully zoned every town into administrative, commercial, workshop, and residential districts, with Shiguang Town serving as the heart of my operation, complete with the castle and dual city walls. I still remember the early days of tents and rotting wooden sheds, which I have finally replaced with thousands of sturdy, uniform stone and wood houses built from local materials. I have packed these towns with hundreds of facilities, administrative halls, warehouses, academies, and clinics, all equipped with advanced drainage and public restrooms. I nodded in satisfaction, having prioritized sanitation early on just to avoid the stench that plagues every other noble's town. I made sure the underground drainage system was up to the task, keeping my streets clean even when the rain tries its best to turn them into mud. Defensive works were robust, featuring stone walls, 22 watchtowers, and 4 large bunkers protecting each town. I reviewed my sand table model, marveling at the transition from muddy camps to meticulously planned urban centers. To verify the progress of the academies and workshops, I decided to conduct a personal inspection. In the workshop district, 20 furnaces roared as dwarven smiths worked in a rhythmic symphony. Zilifu approached, wiping his hands on his apron. "Young master, you've arrived just in time for the monthly report." The Blacksmith Academy had added 20 apprentices. 8 apprentices had become blacksmiths, and 14 blacksmiths had advanced to senior blacksmiths. 2 senior blacksmiths had reached the rank of master blacksmith, significantly easing production pressure. Monthly output reached 1,500 high-quality bronze rank weapons. I inspected a new longsword, noting its deep blue luster and superior edge compared to standard market weapons. Zilifu reported a monthly output of 450 silver rank weapons and 60 gold rank weapons. Platinum-grade equipment was the most impressive achievement. "We produce 5 to 8 platinum pieces a month," Zilifu said, wiping sweat. "Each takes 3 of us over 7 days, but they are worthy of being Knight Order heirlooms." I watched a newly quenched platinum longsword. It vibrated with a dragon-like hum, and I could see the energy pulsing through its patterns. I praised Zilifu and his team, thanking them for their contributions to the territory's glory. Zilifu bowed solemnly, promising to continue meeting my expectations. At the Alchemy Academy, I waited for Dean Green to finish a lecture before approaching. Green apologized for the lack of a formal welcome. I smiled, dismissing the apology and asking for a report on the alchemy sector. Green reported 17 trained apprentices capable of brewing 130 bottles of primary potions, including mana potions, each month. 2 students, Hamo and Dole, had advanced to alchemists capable of brewing intermediate potions, with Dole showing potential to become a grandmaster pharmacist. Intrigued, I requested to meet the 2 youths. Green led me to a bright lab where the 2 boys were monitoring boiling blue liquid in a crucible, a task that looked far more dangerous than my usual desk work. "Hamo, Dole, young Master Cyril is here to see you," Green announced. The boys stood up hurriedly, Hamo nervous and Dole accidentally knocking over a mortar. I inspected their intermediate healing potion, praising the pure color and precise heat control. "I hear you became alchemists in just 1 year?" Dole nodded shyly. "Yes, my lord. We just really love alchemy." "They often stay up late practicing," Green added affectionately. I rested a hand on their shoulders. "Hold on to that passion." I handed them a silver badge inlaid with a calming leaf. "I give this to the Alchemy Academy to encourage you. I hope you become great alchemists who create new potions to benefit the world." Dole asked nervously, "Lord Cyril, can we really create new medicinal formulas?" "Why not?" I pointed to the herb garden. "Every herb holds unknown potential, just like you young people." I held their calloused hands. "One day, The potions you brew will heal wounds I cannot and reach lands I have yet to tread. The boy's eyes shone with resolve. I knew the seed I planted today would eventually grow into a pillar of the territory. I then visited the Knight Academy and Culture Academy to assess their progress. The Knight Academy added 280 apprentice knights and 500 knight squires. 138 apprentices advanced to official knights, and 43 official knights became elite knights, significantly bolstering the ranks. Rain, having grown his true chi through constant monster clearing with the Iron Eagle Knights, advanced to Grand Knight. Orlando, thanks to his immense talent and the territory's resources, skipped the Elite Knight phase and reached the Grand Knight realm. Raphael, nearing the peak of the Grand Knight realm, was on the verge of becoming a hero knight. I, empowered by the Lake of Life and endless resources, had also reached the Grand Knight realm. The Knight Order was fully equipped. Elite Knights and above carried silver rank gear, squad leaders used gold rank, and Knight Order leaders wielded platinum-grade equipment. I noted knights training with platinum-grade gear, personally crafted by Zilifu as rewards for their meritorious service. With 4 Grand Knights, nearly 100 Elite Knights, and over 1,000 soldiers, Orloff Territory's military strength was among the best on Tania Island. The Culture Academy was also thriving, training local residents to become officials and alleviating the administrative shortages caused by the expansion of the 3 towns. I continued recruiting scholars to teach literacy, knowing that culture was vital to the nation's foundation. I also prioritized the mysterious path of mages. A year ago, I guided Liana as she successfully constructed an elemental resonance magic array, following the scripture of nature. She drew a 3-meter-wide array on the floor using silver powder, placing elemental crystals at its center. I held a secret screening for 100 children aged 12 to 15, mostly the offspring of officials and residents. Liana instructed the first child to place their hand on the array to sense the energy. Most produced only faint light until the 17th child, the son of official Eldon, caused the yellow earth element crystal to glow brightly. Earth affinity, talent level, good, Liana recorded. Over 3 days of testing 300 children, only 13 showed clear elemental affinity. Liana began basic meditation training for the apprentices in a new garden by the Pool of Origin. Avril showed incredible talent, manifesting stable wind swirls within 7 days and sensing both wind and water elements by the end of the month. Avril's mental power grows 3 times faster than the others, Liana told me. She will be casting spells within 3 months. A year later, Liana had become a full-fledged mage, and under her guidance, Avril had become a spellcaster. The other 13 children became mage attendants or apprentices, establishing a local magical force. I was satisfied. Without the Lake of Life, this progress would have taken 4 or 5 years. At dusk, I met with Shiloah and Harlan's to discuss the Lingqi Chamber of Commerce. Sit, I said. Report on the chamber. Shiloah reported. Our fleet has 5 ships. The Sea Wing was upgraded to 250 tons, and we maintain bi-monthly routes to the 3 coastal provinces without delay. Harlan's added, our Lucy Province branch is stable. We sold 200 silver swords last month, doubling our profits. Furthermore, the Boer Province Governor's office ordered 50 sets of gold armor for their guards. I nodded. And the north? We opened a new northern route, avoiding pirate-infested waters, Shiloah said. The ice wolf pelts we brought back sold for a fortune in Lucy. Harlan suggested, the northerners need food and medicine. We should send 50 bottles of Dean Green's healing potion. Agreed, I said. Start with 50. Shiloah presented a sea chart. We found an uninhabited island with fresh water. It would make a perfect supply and storm shelter station. I reviewed the chart. Handle it, but keep it secret. Harlan's whispered. Major royal capital merchants are asking about our weapon sources. My eyes hardened. Refuse them. Our forging techniques are the territory's foundation. They must not be leaked. Understood, they replied. I pressed for details on local trade, the real backbone of my territory's economy. Harlan's explained. Baron Walter relies on our timber and iron, trading them for wool and leather. Processing these raw materials in our workshops doubles our profits. Baron Black has high-quality limestone, but lacks food. We trade him grain at a discount. effectively monopolizing his limestone exports. Barren field in the south lacks weapons. We trade him a few bronze weapons for his fruit and honey. We process those into preserves and fruit wine for coastal markets, yielding high profits. Monthly, these trades generate over 3,000 gold coins. As night fell, I looked out at the port lights. Well done, I said. Remember, the chamber is not just for profit. It is our eyes and ears for news from across the continent. Shilua saluted. We will not fail you. Harlan's added. We will plant the Lingqi Chamber of Commerce flag in every city. After they left, I calculated my monthly income, now exceeding 5,000 gold coins due to trade and the Bishi town port. The 800 square kilometer territory was expanding, but further growth to the north or west meant facing monsters. Expansion to the south risked alarming neighboring lords and provoking a coalition against me. I pondered a solution, but the next morning's daily intelligence provided a new path forward. Daily intelligence updated. Old John's hen laid a double yolk egg, and he's convinced it's thanks to my blessing. I'll take the credit. A pack of Tier 6 manticores is currently hunting a group of Tier 5 griffins 130 kilometers north of the mine. Nature is rarely peaceful. 3. A new slave at the Iron Bay port market possesses affinity with all things, capable of significantly enhancing the talent and quantity of bred magical beasts. Apprentice blacksmith Tongmu finally hit his 1,000th dagger, had a breakthrough, and earned his promotion to formal blacksmith. Persistence pays off. Some monkey in Bishi port decided to steal the tavern owner's 10-year-aged vintage. I hope he enjoys the hangover. Magic is surging deep within Tania Island. A massive beast tide, the strongest in a century, is brewing in the Black Forest, and it's heading for Wangya Bay within the month. My eyes sharpened as I studied the map, focusing on the Black Forest. I recalled library records. Tania Island has suffered recurring beast tides for over a century. Previous lords suffered heavy losses, and the kingdom, weakened by failed wars with the barbarian kingdom, lacked the resources to intervene. Consequently, the kingdom's development remained confined to the Wangya Bay area. This impending tide threatens the survival of every lord on the island, even those who survived previous outbreaks. Summon all high-ranking officials to the castle meeting room in 1 hour. I commanded. 1 hour later, the meeting room was filled. The atmosphere was heavy as the core leadership gathered, having been briefed on the situation. I stood before a map, presenting a modified intelligence report that omitted the daily intelligence system while confirming the imminent, massive beast tide. I've become quite the artist at painting over reality with a brush made of lies. This tide will far exceed any in the last 50 years. Our southern neighbors, the baronies, are in the direct path, I stated. I outlined 3 goals: ensure the safety of Shiguang Town, minimize civilian casualties, and, post-disaster, we must be prepared to stabilize the region and restore order for the kingdom. Everyone understood the subtext. The collapse of neighboring lords would provide an opportunity for territorial expansion. Raphael, I called. The Knight Commander stood. The Radiant Eagle Knights will secure Shiguang Town's defenses. The Iron Eagle Knights will secure the mines and roads, and conduct deep reconnaissance in the Black Forest to track the enemy's composition and movement. The Holy Feather Knights will guard the origin land and the castle, remaining ready for support. Understood. I will inspect the siege crossbows personally, and Rain will lead the scouts this afternoon, Raphael replied. Rain, I said, keeping my tone solemn. You must act as a vanguard. Use the nature beacons Liana will provide to monitor the forest, and if necessary, guide the tide away from our main walls. Orlando nodded firmly. Zillifu, I barked. Halt non-essential production. Prioritize arrows, javelins, and armor repairs. Use all burning iron ore for explosive arrowheads and siege crossbow ammo. Reinforce the walls with steel plating. The dwarves will make those beasts regret this. Zillifu promised. Eldon, I signaled. Initiate wartime rationing. Stockpile food, medicine, and fuel. Organize civilians to reinforce defenses and dig trenches. Prepare evacuation plans and train the militia. The former slave infantry, now integrated as citizens, would serve as the core of this militia. Understood. We have 6 months of grain. I will procure more, Eldon replied. I then assigned tasks to Green and Liana. They were to mass-produce healing potions, hemostatic powder, and antidotes. Liana was tasked with setting up magic arrays for defense and future counteroffensives. I then turned to Shiloh and Harlan's regarding the Chamber of Commerce. I leaned forward, my gaze intense. This is a test and an opportunity. Let us show the world the strength of the Orloff territory. The group responded with determined shouts and immediately dispersed to begin preparations. Orders flowed from the castle, enveloping the Orloff territory in a tense, orderly atmosphere. I decided to try a bit of diplomacy, though I knew it was a long shot. I fired off warning letters to Baron Walter, Baron Black, and Baron Field, the three men whose lands bordered the Black Forest. I urged them to prepare for the worst, mostly because I was hoping their resistance would buy me some breathing room. Their responses were, predictably, disappointing. Baron Walter dismissed the warning. Cyril is overly anxious. My warriors can handle the usual forest disturbances. The other two barons were just as dismissive, leaning heavily on the fact that they'd survived minor monster tides before. They treated the threat like a nuisance rather than an extinction event. Arrogant fools. They have no idea what is coming, Eldon fumed. I watched the soldiers training from my window. We fulfilled our duty. If they choose to ignore the danger, they must face the consequences. My silence implied that their potential downfall would simplify my future expansion. Rain scouts reported increasing activity. Wolves, ogres, and goblins were being driven south. The scale of the tide confirmed my worst fears, which is a recurring theme in my life that I'm starting to find quite tedious. I also considered the griffins in the north. Taming them would be a significant asset, provided they don't decide I look more like a snack than a master. I sent Orlando to investigate. Orlando returned later. Young master, we found the griffins in a canyon 130 kilometers north of the mine. But they are under heavy assault by a pack of manticores and are in a dire situation. Opportunity. My eyes flashed. I ordered, Orlando, equip the Holy Feather Knights and head to the canyon immediately. Young master, your safety. Orlando hesitated, worried about me joining the fray. It's fine. This is the perfect test for our knights. Besides, I said, I want to test my own strength as a Grand Knight in real combat. Half an hour later, I and Orlando led the Holy Feather Knights galloping toward the mine. Upon arriving at the canyon, they heard the piercing cries of eagles and the roars of beasts. Above the canyon, 20 griffins were locked in a bloody struggle against over 30 manticores, clearly at a disadvantage. Despite the griffins' ferocity, the manticores' superior numbers and treacherous, flexible venomous tails were overwhelming. Several griffins were heavily wounded, and one had already plummeted into the canyon. The Griffin King, larger than the rest with shimmering white-gold feathers, stood out. It was single-handedly engaging a massive, dark-red ore-emitting Tier 6 manticore leader. The Griffin King had wounded the leader, but its own wings were struck by the venomous tail, staining its white feathers with purple-black blood. Form up, I commanded. The Holy Feather Knights spread out, seizing the high ground and drawing their bows with armor-piercing arrows. Target the manticores. Prioritize those attacking the griffins. Prepare explosive arrows. Orlando ordered. Whoosh! The first volley of armor-piercing arrows tore through the manticore's wings and bellies, followed immediately by red-tailed explosive arrows. Asterisk boom. Boom! Asterisk explosions and fire shattered the manticore's formation, sending several plummeting. The Griffin King let out a hopeful cry at the sudden intervention. The Tier 6 manticore leader roared, locking its gaze on me. Roar! Ignoring the Griffin King, the manticore leader dove like a blood-red meteor toward me, its venomous tail glowing with blue light. Protect the young master. Orlando shouted. Keep clearing the others. This beast is mine. I roared, channeling my eagle battle chi into my platinum sword. I knew I had to end this quickly to prevent casualties among my men. I leaped into the air, meeting the manticore head-on. A golden sword chi blade tore through the air toward the beast's head. The manticore dodged, but the blade sliced its cheek, drawing blood. Enraged, the beast swiped with its claws. Clang! I parried, using the momentum to flip away from the follow-up tail strike. I danced around the beast, my sword flashing like lightning as I targeted its eyes, joints, and tail connection. The manticore, despite its power, was frustrated by my agility and suffered constant non-lethal wounds. On the ground, the Holy Feather Knights continued to decimate the remaining manticores with precise arrow fire. Supported by the ground fire, the griffins rallied and joined the knights in the cleanup. Desperate, the manticore leader gathered dark red energy in its maw. "Young master, look out!" Orlando shouted, rushing forward. The energy beam was seconds away from turning me into ash. Suddenly, the Griffin King slammed into the manticore, knocking its aim off course. Now, I poured every drop of my battle chi into my sword and launched myself forward, a golden streak of light diving straight into the beast's open mouth. Splat! The blade burst through the back of the manticore's head. The beast went limp and plummeted to the cliffside, dead. With their leader gone, the remaining manticores were quickly wiped out. The canyon fell silent, save for the tired cries of the griffins. I landed, breathing hard but triumphant. The knights cheered for their lord. The wounded Griffin King landed near me. It looked at me and the dead manticore, then bowed its head in submission. The 50 surviving griffins followed suit, bowing before me. Orlando and the knights watched in awe. I stepped forward and placed my hand on the Griffin King's forehead. It nuzzled my palm. "From now on, you are the Orloff territory's staunchest allies. Welcome," I declared. The Griffin King let out a long cry, echoed by its kin, pledging their loyalty. I ordered, "Take them back to the territory. Have Liana and Green treat their wounds." "Yes, young master," Orlando replied, envisioning a future Griffin Knight Corps. Back at the territory, Liana and Green began the treatment. Recalling my daily intelligence, I remembered a slave in Iron Bay port with the affinity with all things talent, perfect for raising these griffins. A talent I'd surely use for something more dignified if I weren't currently playing glorified birdkeeper. I summoned Liana. "Liana, there is a slave boy in the Iron Bay port market. I need you to bring him back." Liana nodded, asking, "Is there something special about him?" "He possesses the rare affinity with all things talent. We need him to bond with our new griffin flock." Liana's green eyes widened in surprise. As an elf, she knew the value of such a gift. "I understand. I will bring him back safely." Liana arrived at the chaotic Iron Bay port market with 2 knights in plain clothes, and there I was, huddled in a cage. Liana spotted me, a ragged, whip-scarred boy of about 13. Yet her keen senses immediately detected a vibrant aura of life surrounding me. A sparrow landed on my cage, ignoring the market's noise. I looked up, meeting Liana's gaze with clear, spirited, and wild eyes. With one glance, Liana knew I was the one. She walked straight to the slaver and pointed at me. "I want him." "Certainly, my lady. His name is—" The slaver began, eager to make the sale. Back at the castle, Liana brought the cleaned-up version of me, now dressed in fresh clothes and named Avon, to my study. I stood before myself, nervous and clutching my hem. I looked at the boy warmly. "Avon, welcome to the Orloff territory." I stepped closer, my gaze steady. "I didn't bring you here to be a slave, but because of your innate affinity for communicating with all living things." Avon looked up in shock. He had never told anyone about his secret. Avon had always been able to commune with animals, a secret he kept hidden his entire life. "Don't worry, I won't harm you," I continued. "Your ability is valuable. Work for me, and you will never return to those squalid places. You will have plenty of food and the freedom to use your gift without fear of greed or judgment from others." I painted a hopeful future for the boy, though I'm usually better at painting myself into a corner. "Will you pledge your loyalty to me and this territory, and use your gift to its fullest potential?" Hope ignited in Avon's eyes as he nodded. "I will give everything I have for you, Lord Cyril." I added, "We have a group of griffins. I want you to use your talent to raise, care for, and bond with them. Will you do it?" The word griffin struck Avon like thunder. He had expected menial labor, not such a prestigious duty. Overwhelmed by being valued and trusted with legendary creatures, Avon felt a surge of warmth and strength. Tears welled up as he looked at me and Liana. He nodded vigorously, voice choked with emotion. "I will. Thank you, Lord Cyril. I will take care of them with my life." "Excellent," I smiled. "Liana will help you settle in. Once you are ready, I will introduce you to your new companions." My tone turned solemn. "Remember, Avon, you are no longer a slave. You are a citizen of the Orloff territory, my subordinate, and my friend. This is your home. Home, Avon whispered, tears flowing as he offered his first genuine, hopeful smile since arriving in this world. As Liana led the excited boy away, I envisioned a future where the griffin flock would soar to new heights under Avon's care. War was looming over the territory, so Liana spent her time meditating on the scripture of nature, looking for a way out. She stumbled upon a blueprint for a device that could channel magic crystal energy through an array to fire projectiles. She realized this war machine was a game-changer and came straight to me. Inside my study, Liana sketched out the core array and the structural principles on a piece of parchment. This is a magic crystal cannon. It uses burning iron ore and complex arrays to focus and unleash the energy of magic crystals into a long-range weapon. I studied the precise lines and energy nodes, tapping my desk in silence as I grasped the weapon's immense potential. I knew exactly what this cannon meant for our future. I understand, I commanded. Liana, coordinate with Zilipho. Use all necessary resources, including the burning iron ore and magic crystals. I want to see a prototype. I looked at her intensely. Go ahead. That is my order. Understood, Lord Cyril. We will finish it as soon as possible, Liana replied. Liana and Zilipho led a team of craftsmen and mage apprentices into an intensive research phase. The forge burned day and night, filled with the sounds of hammering, humming magic arrays, and occasional energy discharges. 10 days later, I was inspecting a new batch of swords when I heard a commotion. Rapid footsteps and the sound of metal wheels rolling over gravel approached. I looked up to see Liana and Zilipho pushing a large, tarp-covered object toward me, their faces glowing with excitement. Zilipho looked flushed with pride, and Liana's eyes sparkled with discovery. Lord Cyril, Liana called out, breathless. We succeeded. Zilipho pulled back the heavy tarp to reveal the strange machine. It featured a thick, hollow barrel cast from refined iron and burning iron ore, embedded with precisely cut magic crystals. Intricate mithril arrays traced the length of the barrel, pulsing with a faint, magical glow. Zilipho spoke with overflowing pride. My lord, you cannot imagine its power. Our tests show this prototype can vaporize an apprentice knight and pose a serious threat to an official knight. Liana added regretfully. We prioritize core stability, so some secondary stabilization arrays remain unfinished. The barrel material could also be improved, but for now, we classify this prototype as silver rank. I nodded, satisfied. A silver rank weapon capable of threatening an official knight was a formidable trump card for me. No matter. The success of the first step is what matters, I said. Show me its power. Yes. Liana and Zilipho replied, invigorated. Targets were set up, bronze rank armor, silver rank armor, and a piece of gold rank plating. Liana inserted a magic crystal into the breach. The arrays hummed to life with a steady blue light, causing the air to vibrate with a low, beast-like growl. Target the shields and plate armor. Fire, Liana ordered. An apprentice pulled the lever. Boom! A dull, piercing roar erupted, the sound of high-pressure energy being released instantly. A beam of compressed blue-white energy surged from the barrel at incredible speed. The beam slammed into the target area in the blink of an eye. The bronze armor shattered instantly, the silver armor was pierced, and the residual energy slammed into the gold plating. With a blinding flash and the screech of tearing metal, the gold armor was sent flying, suffering significant damage. As the dust settled, the target area looked as if it had been ravaged by a beast. The onlookers gasped, stunned by the sheer destructive force that had obliterated defenses meant to withstand high-level knights. I stared at the wreckage, my gaze sharp, wondering if I'd be the one stuck with the bill for the repairs later. Excellent. I turned to the beaming Liana and Zilipho. This silver rank power proves the immense potential of the magic crystal cannon. I commanded, Liana, Zilipho, your priority is to refine the magic array to increase its power and range. Second, establish mass production standards. We need a significant number of silver rank units to form a proper force. This weapon will be our strongest defense against powerful enemies. Liana and the others acknowledged the order and immediately took the prototype to begin testing and replication. A cold, foul-smelling wind swept across the edge of the black forest. Rain crouched in the shadows of a dead tree, his leather armor damp with dew. His scout team had been lurking here for 2 days. "It's too quiet, sir," whispered Carl. "Not even a rabbit in sight." I stared into the forest, where trees were twisted and scarred by deep claw marks. Yesterday, they found a deer carcass torn apart in a fit of rage rather than for food. "Pack up. We're moving 5 miles deeper," Rain said, his voice raspy. "I have a bad feeling." The team moved deeper, finding massive, unfamiliar claw prints and trees oozing dark red sap. Suddenly, I signaled a halt. Ahead, bushes shook, accompanied by heavy breathing and crunching sounds. I peered through the foliage, my pupils contracting. 3 monsters, wolf-like but twice the size with pale-boned spurs on their backs, were devouring a bear. Their eyes glowed with madness. Bloodthirsty bear beasts. Rain thought, horrified that these solitary predators were hunting in a pack. A long, shrill howl echoed, filled with a cruelty that chilled Rain to the bone. Similar howls erupted from all directions, as if the entire black forest had awakened to hunt. "Retreat. Now," Rain ordered, his voice tight with terror. The team fled, but the vanguard of the beast tide was faster. Red shadows lunged from the sides. "Watch out!" Combat erupted. Rain slashed a bloodthirsty wolf beast's throat, spraying foul blood. Carl fought off 2 others. "Don't get bogged down. Push through," Rain roared, seeing more shadows flickering in the trees. As they neared the forest edge, a shadow leopard dropped from the canopy, sinking its claws into Carl's shoulder. A scout turned to help, distraught. "Go!" Rain shouted, grabbing the scout and forcing him forward. He knew stopping meant death for everyone. They sprinted toward Shiguang town, collapsing only once they were clear. Rain clenched his fists, mourning the 2 lost comrades. "We report to Cyril," he said, his voice resolute. "The beast tide is here." When the bloodied survivors reached the town gates, the guards immediately alerted Cyril. "I was waiting in the square." Rain reported hoarsely. "Sir, the forest is swarming with mixed monsters, bloodthirsty bear beasts, shadow leopards, driven by something even worse. The vanguard will arrive in 2 days at most." He added, "They seem to be controlled. This isn't a natural outbreak." My expression turned cold and sharp. I patted Rain's shoulder. "You've done well. The Orloff territory will remember your sacrifice." I turned to the panicked townspeople and soldiers, my voice booming. "Sound the alarm. Everyone to your stations. The beast tide is coming. Fight to the death for survival." The tide struck the neighboring barons and frontier lords first. Initially dismissing it as a minor event, they soon saw a black wave of death pouring from the forest. Expecting hundreds, they were met by tens of thousands, stretching across the horizon. Baron Walter paced his study in terror, muttering, "This is impossible." Outside, chaos erupted. "Baron Walter, we must flee. The guards can't hold them." A bloodied captain stumbled in, his arm broken. "There are too many. The east gate has fallen. They don't fear death." "Flee? Where?" the Baron stammered. "My land, my castle. To Iron Bay Port. It's the only place with walls strong enough to hold them." The castle shook as the main gate collapsed under a massive impact. Seeing the town burning and overrun by monsters, the Baron finally snapped out of his shock. "Go," he trembled. "Take my family through the secret passage. Quickly." He turned a candlestick, revealing a hidden tunnel. Servants ushered his screaming family inside. As the Baron stepped into the passage, he took one last look at his study. Through the window, he saw the main tower collapse, crushing the palace below. A massive thunder kodo beast stood amidst the ruins, its horn crackling with lightning, illuminating the Baron's face of despair. Similar scenes played out across the region as lords fled toward Iron Bay Port. The tide hit the Orloff territory sooner than I expected. A low roar shook the forest. As the first wind wolf emerged, I tightened my grip on my sword. "They're here." A black flood of low-level monsters, wind wolves, hard-skinned wild boars, and burrowing piercers, surged forward. They charged the walls of Shiguang town, driven by pure, blood-red instinct. The walls were silent. "Hold steady," I commanded. As the vanguard entered the kill zone, I swung my arm. "Iron Eagle and Radiant Eagle Knights, engage." Hundreds of knights roared, their battle aura flaring as they formed a tight formation to meet the beasts. Steel met flesh in a brutal melee. Knights fell, but I watched as others immediately stepped up to fill the gaps. Holy Feather Knights, battle aura slash, suppressive fire. Orlando's steady voice echoed across the walls. Over 100 knights swung their swords in unison, unleashing hundreds of varied battle aura slashes like a dense rainstorm upon the beast horde. Though individually limited, the combined strikes formed a destructive storm, shredding wind wolves and hard-skinned wild boars, momentarily halting the horde's advance. However, the sheer number of magical beasts meant fallen gaps were instantly filled by those behind, a logistical nightmare I was currently stuck in the middle of. Massive rock giant bears pushed through the low-tier beasts, their thick hides highly resistant to the knights' aura slashes. Raphael roared, leading a team of elite knights from the Radiant and Iron Eagle orders as they leaped from the wall. Bursting with crimson battle aura, Raphael displayed the overwhelming pressure of a Grand Knight, cleaving a rock giant bear in two with a single strike. His elite knights followed suit, using refined sword skills and dense aura to systematically eliminate the heavy units. Suddenly, the sky darkened as a cloud of iron-beaked crows descended, their razor-sharp claws aimed at the defenders. Avril, Liana commanded sharply. Avril raised her staff, channeling mana from the gathered apprentices and attendants. Gale Barrier, a cyan wind wall materialized, shredding the lead crows, but the sheer volume of the flock caused the barrier to flicker violently. Liana struck her staff against the ground, chanting in Elvish, "Nature's wrath, thorn canopy." Green glowing thorns erupted in the air, weaving into a massive net that blanketed the sky. The crows crashed into the thorns, becoming entangled and crushed, turning the sky into a rain of blood. Yet, this was only the beginning. The ground shook as a dozen Thunder Kodo beasts appeared at the rear, their horns crackling with dangerous lightning. "Prepare the magic crystal cannons," I ordered calmly. I watched Zillifu and his assistants activate the dozens of silver-rank cannons, watching as they began to glow with a ghostly blue light. "Target the horde, fire." Two deafening roars ripped through the air as massive blue-white energy beams struck the center of the charging beasts. Following a blinding flash, hundreds of beasts were obliterated, and I had to admit, the cannon's power once again stunned the entire battlefield. The assault continued as I saw dozens of ghostly figures scale the walls, targeting the mages and cannon operators. Death Wish. Rain appeared before Liana, his twin blades flashing to dismember 3 shadow leopards instantly. I noted that his speed-oriented battle aura made him the perfect counter to these assassin-type beasts. Rain and his knights stood like a bulwark, protecting the mages and cannons as I watched the battle reach a fever pitch. Liana provided support, summoning thick vines to bind large beasts and raining ice shards upon the smaller ones. The magic crystal cannons were the anchor, but I frowned. Mana crystals were depleting rapidly, and the arrays were becoming unstable. I really should have checked the budget before agreeing to this grand display of pyrotechnics. A piercing, pressure-filled screech echoed as 3 massive shadow leopard kings emerged, their aura reaching the peak of Tier 5, equivalent to human Grand Knights. One lunged at Liana, breaking through the perimeter. "Careful," I shouted, preparing to intercept. Raphael was faster, his golden battle aura burning like a war god as he clashed with the beast, their impact creating a thunderous boom. The other 2 leopard kings engaged Orlando and Rain, putting immense pressure on the 3 Grand Knights. Seizing the distraction, the horde launched a full-scale assault, causing a section of the wall to collapse under the relentless impact. "Plug the gap," I roared, leading the charge into the breach alongside the knights and the arriving griffins. My swordplay was pure, efficient slaughter, yet the endless tide of beasts seemed impossible to stem. Ignoring her mana depletion, Liana raised her staff. Emerald Barrier. A green field expanded, slowing the beasts and draining their life force while revitalizing the knights. The strain turned Liana pale. As the situation grew dire, the cannons finished recharging. Lord Cyril moved. Zillifu screamed. I retreated. Fire. Dozens of massive energy beams converged on the breach, detonating with cataclysmic force. The world drained of color as the shockwave vaporized everything within 100 meters, rattling my walls to their foundations. As the light faded, giant charred craters were all that remained outside the breach. This devastating strike broke the Horde's momentum, allowing Orlando and Raphael to finish off their respective Leopard Kings, then assist Rain in killing the final one. The remaining beasts retreated. Silence fell over the blood-soaked battlefield as the exhausted defenders collapsed amidst the carnage. I leaned on my sword, gasping for air. My armor was shredded and my aura was spent. I watched the retreating horde, but I felt no joy. Orloff territory survived, but this was only a fraction of the threat. If we struggled this much, I knew the lesser baronies, the ones without grand knights, would surely fall. Clear the field, count the casualties, and repair the defenses. I rasped, my voice hoarse with fatigue. Raphael approached, his armor caked in dried blood. Young Master Cyril, the report is ready. His voice was heavy. 87 apprentices dead, over 130 incapacitated. 23 official knights dead, 41 severely wounded. 5 elite knights dead, 7 wounded. The knight squires suffered even heavier losses. Each number tightened my heart. These were not mere soldiers, but the backbone of my territory. With the cannons damaged and supplies low, this was the greatest loss in the history of the Orloff territory. Record the fallen. Their families will receive double compensation, I said steadily. Send the wounded to the rear. The next morning, a notification broke my fatigue. Daily intelligence updated. 1. A subterranean dwarf ruin entrance has been exposed in the west due to the beast tide. 2. Tier 6, and possibly a Tier 7 beast, have been sensed in the Black Forest. The tide is reaching its peak, aiming to destroy all lords on Tania Island. 3. Mr. Luff is praying for the end of the tide. 10. A secret realm with intense life energy is opening in the Black Forest. I felt a chill. With Tier 6 and 7 beasts appearing, levels matching Hero and Earth Knights, the kingdom's forces on Tania Island, which only boasted 1 Hero Knight, were hopelessly outmatched. I've handled previous tides before, but this time, even the prosperous Iron Bay port was surrounded on 3 sides by the encroaching horde. Beneath the walls, a sea of beasts hammered the defenses, while arrows, boiling oil, and boulders rained down amidst the stench of blood and decay. Refugees from fallen territories flooded Iron Bay port, and I could feel the despair spreading like a plague through the crowded streets. The governor's mansion was tense. Report. The north wall has cracks. The garrison needs reinforcements. Our potion supply is dry, the mages are exhausted, and the wounded are mounting. Governor Herbert's face darkened. He hadn't anticipated a beast tide of this magnitude, which threatened to undo a century of development. Even as a Grand Knight, I saw the crushing weight of exhaustion on him. What is the status of the Wolf Heart Knights? Herbert asked, his voice raspy. Commander Rogers is holding the north wall personally, a weary aide replied. The knights have suffered heavy casualties, but the line holds for now. As if mocking that stability, I watched as dozens of Tier 5 magical beasts and several Tier 6 beasts emerged at the front lines, radiating terrifying pressure. Rock giant bears, flame tigers, and shadow leopard kings appeared like walking disasters, causing the defenders' morale to plummet. A massive, overwhelming aura erupted from the Black Forest, bearing down on Iron Bay port. Tier 7. A noble stammered, his wine glass shattering as red liquid spilled like blood. It's over, another lamented. Dozens of Tier 5s, several Tier SIXS, and now a Tier 7. We cannot hold. Governor, we must retreat to the ships while we still can. Panic rippled through the room. Silence. Herbert slammed the table, cracking the solid wood. His Grand Knight battle aura surged, forcibly suppressing the panic. Look at yourselves. Are you still nobles of the kingdom? Herbert's gaze cut through them. Hundreds of thousands of citizens are here. If we flee, the line collapses and everyone dies. The law forbids such cowardice. Herbert took a breath, steeling his resolve. He turned to his clerk. In the name of Herbert Green, governor of Tania Island, initiate the highest emergency protocol. Send a distress signal to the royal capital. Tania Island faces the greatest beast tide in history, including Tier 6 and 7 threats. Iron Bay port is in peril. We require immediate support. Yes, Governor. The clerk immediately began drafting the urgent missive. Soon, messengers departed the port, carrying the highest-level distress signals across the sea toward the royal capital. Order everyone to coordinate with Rogers. Activate the defense formation, and hold until reinforcements arrive. Herbert commanded. Understood. The nobles had no choice but to comply. Herbert closed his eyes, inhaling the scent of smoke and blood. When he opened them, his gaze was filled with desperate, singular resolve. He could only hope the kingdom would send aid in time. I pored over intelligence on a dwarf ruin, desperate to find a solution to this crisis. The threat of a Tier 7 magical beast was immense enough that even I felt a flicker of fear. Without hesitation, I gathered Orlando, Rain, Zillifu, Liana, and a squad of elite knights, leaving Raphael to guard our base. We rushed to the location, a steep cliff face that had collapsed due to the beast tide's impact. The collapse revealed an arched entrance built from massive square stones, buried for ages. Thick cobwebs covered the entrance, but the crude carvings of axes and hammers, along with an ancient dwarf emblem, confirmed its origin. A dwarf ruin. Zillifu touched the cold stone, his voice trembling. This style is centuries old. To think our ancestors' workshop slept beneath this land. Rain, scout ahead, I ordered. Rain returned from the dark passage, grim. The tunnels are complex and silent. I sense faint, non-living energy fluctuations. We lit illumination crystals and entered. The walls featured murals of dwarves forging and battling giant creatures. The air inside smelled of ancient metal and dust. Watch your step, Liana warned, her staff illuminating a seemingly flat floor. There's residual energy here, a trap. She tossed a stone, rusted arrows fired from the walls. After 15 minutes, we passed a broken gate and entered a massive underground hall. The dome was supported by pillars carved with axes and hammers. In the center stood several tall, silent metal constructs. These 3-meter-tall humanoid golems were made of dark obsidian iron, featuring empty magic crystal sockets. They stood like loyal guards before a metal door, covered in dust, but radiating an intimidating aura of power. Dwarf golems. Zillifu rushed forward, his beard trembling with excitement. He used his tools to clean the dust, revealing intricate energy-conducting runes on the chest plate. The structure is perfect. Zillifu wept with joy. These are combat golems. Given the reinforcement layers, he pointed to 4 massive golems with bare-head shoulder guards. These 4 likely possess the power of hero knights. He then pointed to 8 smaller ones. These should be on par with elite knights. This is lost technology. Everyone was stunned. 4 Tier 6 and 8 Tier 5 golems could shift the balance of power on Tania Island. However, reality set in. The core furnaces were dark, their energy long since depleted. They remained in a dormant state, indistinguishable from the surrounding rock. Can we activate them? I asked, my heart racing. Zillifu inspected them, his brow furrowing. Energy is the problem. They used highly compressed energy crystals. If we force our magic crystals into them. Zillifu shook his head. Our conversion efficiency is too low. Over 60% of the energy would dissipate. We might not reach their full potential and could cause irreversible damage to their internal structures. Liana turned her attention to the glowing metal door at the end of the hall. The energy patterns on that door matched the golems. Perhaps the control center or a power source is behind it. The door was thick, dark gold, featuring a palm print indentation surrounded by complex runes. As we pondered how to open it, Zillifu stared at the palm print with resolve. Let me try. He stepped forward, drew a dagger, cut his palm, and pressed his bleeding hand into the indentation. At first, the door remained unresponsive. As Zillifu's disappointment grew, the runes around the palm print glowed with a steady, earthen yellow light, radiating a mountain-like weight that spread across the door. A crisp mechanical click echoed. With a smooth grinding of metal, the heavy door slid inward, revealing a long-sealed chamber. Success! Zillifu's pure dwarven blood had unlocked the gate. Zillifu pulled his hand back, eyeing his wound with a relieved smile, feeling immense pride in his heritage. Well done, Zillifu. I patted his shoulder. Let's see what's inside. The room was a compact workshop, likely a control room, or a master craftsman's private studio. A semicircular console packed with dim crystals and levers anchored the center, surrounded by walls bristling with strange tools. In the corner, a crystal case held a dozen fist-sized, deep purple stones, each pulsing with stable, flowing energy. I recognized them immediately. These were the concentrated energy blocks I needed to power my golems. On the console, I spotted a sealed metal tube containing several perfectly preserved scrolls. I unfurled one, my breath hitching as I felt a flush of excitement. Advanced Magic Crystal Energy Stabilization. By the Goddess. This details 17 lost stabilization runes. It can reduce our magic crystal cannon's energy leakage by 40% and double the initial projectile speed. That's a 50% increase in power and at least half the cooldown time. Zillifu stammered, his hands trembling. He opened another scroll and jumped for joy. Essence of Alloy Forging. It describes using burning iron ore, limestone essence, and red copper. With a triple quench process, we can forge alloys as strong as millennium cold iron, allowing us to mass-produce high-quality gear and durable cannon barrels. Zillifu cradled the scrolls like priceless treasures. They were the legacy of a grandmaster blacksmith. The cache also included methods for creating concentrated crystals and golems, far exceeding the value of the golems themselves. Move out, I commanded. Liana, use those energy blocks to activate the golems. Zillifu, decode those scrolls immediately. Prioritize the alloy and runes. Rain, secure the entrance and check for traps. Liana carefully inserted an energy block into a Tier 6 golem's chest. It clicked into place. A low, powerful hum resonated from within, like a sleeping giant's heartbeat. The core glowed dark red, sending energy through the armor's rune circuits until the entire body lit up. Its eyes flashed crimson, and with a series of mechanical clicks, the dust shook off its massive frame. A wave of pure, Tier 6 level pressure swept the hall. It worked. We were about to celebrate, but disaster had other plans. My activation of the device triggered the ruin's deeper defenses. Hidden wall panels slid open, and I found myself staring at a swarm of dozens of half-meter-tall mechanical spiders with glowing red eyes. They scuttled toward us on bladed legs, swinging their cutting arms at anyone unlucky enough to be in their path. Individually, they were only Tier 3, but there were over 100 of them, and they had a nasty habit of firing scorching energy beams. Defensive formation. I roared, my battle aura blade slicing through the first wave in a shower of sparks. Rain vanished, reappearing behind the swarm, his twin blades acting as a silver whirlwind that targeted their cores. With every strike, Rain dismantled the machines with lethal precision. The elite knights formed a tight circle, their battle aura-infused swords hacking the spiders to pieces. The hall erupted into a chaotic symphony of clashing metal, explosions, and shouts. Liana, sweat beading on her brow, remained steady as she powered up the second and third Tier 6 golems. As the new golems joined the fray, their heavy footsteps shook the floor. They ignored the spiders' weak energy beams, crushing the machines into scrap with single blows. Their crimson eye beams melted through armor and detonated the spiders' cores instantly. Zillifu activated the 8 Tier 5 golems, which tore through the remaining swarm like a metal storm. The tide turned instantly. The spider's numerical advantage crumbled before absolute power. Within 5 minutes, only scrap metal remained, and the air grew thick with the smell of ozone. I exhaled, feeling a surge of confidence. With these machines, the upgraded cannons, and the new alloys, they finally had the means to turn the tide against the beast tide. Collect everything, scrolls, crystals, every last scrap. I ordered. I scanned my new Iron Legion. Then, we go home. It's time to show those beasts in the Black Forest the power of civilization. I dragged my spoils back to the territory, feeling every bit the triumphant scavenger. The sight of my 12 golems marching into Shiguang town sent a ripple of shock through the entire territory. These silent metal giants were exactly the morale boost my people needed, especially with the beast tide breathing down our necks. I didn't get a moment to sit down, though. Scouts arrived with urgent news from Iron Bay port that killed any hope of a nap. I immediately summoned my core members, Orlando, Rain, and Raphael to hold an emergency council. Our gains in the ruins were significant. I began. But this power isn't for hiding. Iron Bay Port is under siege by Tier 5, 6, and even Tier 7 magical beasts. If it falls, Tania Island will collapse, and the Orloff territory won't survive. I pointed to the map. We must reinforce them, not just for honor, but for survival, to preserve humanity's spark and prove our worth to the kingdom. Raphael frowned. I understand, but our forces are limited. The Tree of Life and our base must be protected. If we leave everything behind, the consequences could be disastrous. Agreed, I nodded. We must split our forces. Raphael, you and Eldon stay to guard the territory. My lord, Raphael stood up. I wish to be your sword, not a shield left at home. I gestured firmly. I entrust the territory to you, Raphael, because you are experienced and steady. I leave you 2 Tier 5 and 1 Tier 6 golem, plus a detachment of knights. Guard our home. Do not let a single beast touch the core area until we return. Raphael saluted, chest thumping. Understood, young master. As long as I draw breath, the Orloff territory stands. I selected my force for Iron Bay Port, Orlando, Rain, 50 elite knights, and over 100 official knights. The rest remained behind, as lower-ranked soldiers would only suffer unnecessary casualties. Liana, Avril, the remaining 3 Tier 6 and 6 Tier 5 golems, and Zillifu with his blacksmiths would accompany me to maintain the golems. Regarding the magic crystal cannons, Zillifu excitedly reported, My lord, using relic technology, we've upgraded too. With new stabilization runes and energy acceleration, they are now gold rank. Their power is immense. One shot can kill a Tier 4 beast or cripple a Tier 5. I've mounted them on reinforced carriages for mobility. Excellent, I praised. I stood, addressing my force. This battle is not just to save Iron Bay Port, but to demonstrate the power and resolve of the Orloff territory to all our enemies. Meanwhile, the walls of Iron Bay Port groaned under the assault of the beast tide. The stone walls that used to be my pride were now nothing but charred, fractured rubble. Piles of beast carcasses reached the ramparts, and the air reeked of blood and rot. Dozens of Tier 5 and 6 beasts were battering my crumbling defenses. With my arrows and supplies exhausted, I watched my remaining soldiers engage in desperate melee combat, their battle aura nearly spent. Knights fell every second, their bodies swallowed by the tide. Herbert received a reply from the royal capital. The kingdom was preparing for a revenge war and refused to send aid, leaving me and Tania Island to fend for ourselves. Fend for ourselves? Herbert roared, his voice trembling with rage. Are we just abandoned frontier fodder? He crushed the letter, shouting toward the distant capital. We are dying here against Tier 5 and 6 beasts, and this is all we get. Driven by despair, Governor Herbert joined the front lines, his armor shattered and his battle aura dimming as he swung his greatsword. Beside him, Hero Knight Rogers, leader of the Wolf Heart Knights, fought 2 Tier 6 Thunderwolf beasts alone. Rogers' strikes were fierce, but his pale face and shaking arms signaled his exhaustion. Most terrifying was the Tier 7 wind-howling two-headed eagle, which had yet to strike. It watched from the rear, its mental pressure crushing the defender's remaining will. Hold the line, Herbert screamed, though his voice was drowned out by the roar of the beasts. With a deafening crash, a section of the north wall collapsed under the combined assault of rock giant bears and corrosive giant lizards. A noble dropped his sword, staring at the 10-meter breach in horror. Ugh! The wind-howling two-headed eagle shrieked, and the beast tides surged into the gap. Defenders attempting to plug the breach were instantly consumed by the black flood. Rogers tried to turn back, but the Thunderwolf beasts pinned him down. Herbert gripped his sword, ready for his final stand, as Iron Bay Port faced its end. At that critical moment,